In a world crying out for a top 10 show, John Roca and Matt Nost are here to bring you the top 10. Brought to you by the Schmoes Know. Take it away, boys. Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Top 10 Show. I'm excited for this one, man.
Should be a good one.
Justice League is coming out, and we just had Marc and Draco, which was a fantastic show.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, people were loving it because of Thor coming out. We did top 10 Marvel movies, and this is something we were like, once again, we were like kicking this around, what we're going to do, and we had picked top 10 DC movies, and then we were like, who are we going to get? And then I think you suggested while we were at one of the Schmoedown recordings, like, what about Inman? And
yeah, he's right here.
That's perfect.
Why not?
Yeah. So we went to talk to Jason Inman of DC All Access, and he graciously said he would come on the show. So he will be coming up here in a couple of minutes. Matt, how are you?
By the way, who are you?
Hi, I'm John Roca.
Hi, I'm Matt Nost.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good at that.
You would think after 3 years of doing this fucking thing.
Yeah, sometimes, I love it. Sometimes we jump in instantly.
Yeah, right.
Especially, it's usually on the days we do a back-to-back, and John will just be like, all right, welcome to Top 10. I'm John Roca. It's kind of like a, let's get this going. I don't need this bullshit up top.
I got to eat, son.
Yeah. And sometimes we tap dance over the top. It's just a little ska, and then eventually you have to get to it. But yeah, I mean, you reach out to guests and you're like,
Yeah.
I really hope this individual says yes. I think they'll be a huge bonus to have.
Yeah.
And especially someone that has a more nuanced appreciation of a lot of those films.
Right.
Is always good to hear from. It's like on Draco with the Marvel. I brought aspects of movies that I hadn't thought about it from the context of looking at it from a comic book perspective, taking it to film. And you're like, oh, that's interesting why this occurs or that doesn't.
Right. It was really surprising.
It was. There was a couple
so
things
enjoyable.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. I never would have even thought to ask that question.
So we're not trying to put the pressure on Jason, but I
No.
hope he does that for us, too.
No.
I mean, he hosts a show about DC fucking stuff, so I should hope he's going to bring some perspective.
There's nothing worse than when the host of a specific genre of a type of show can't then talk about or answer questions.
From the action-adventure category.
Yeah, of the genre of the show they're supposed to be excellent at.
If you're team action, you should be able to get the 2-point questions right.
I'm just saying.
Maria Bello, you idiot.
Multiple choice army out there. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Jason Inman, welcome to the Top 10 Show.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. Okay.
DC?
Yeah. All right. Anyway, John, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Him in the bathroom's around the corner.
Thanks.
Just hook it down, go to the end.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks, guys. Fan of the show.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
excited that this is the one that I get to, because I think I gave you grief over the one you had Scott Mantz on, and I was like, that should have been me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's right.
I think it was that, and then someone brought up superheroes, and you're like, hey, guys, if you ever do a superheroes.
Yes.
Let
Because the
me
Top
know.
10 Star Trek is what we had, and then we brought on Mance, and he was mad about that.
Yeah, I was
Jason.
mad.
Number
I was a
one
little
was mad about it. He stepped over 10 or 12 chairs. He was so angry.
Listen, that could easily come back.
Yeah.
So
That's not
bring it on.
canon. Those are not canon anymore.
Oh, really?
The new
Well,
show is canon.
that was on Collider, so technically they still have access to it, so it might make
all
it
right,
canon.
Fine.
All right.
Fine.
Yeah, because we retired everything
Oh.
that we did in audio before.
Right.
Because that way, it was a year and a half of topics.
It really
Yeah.
was.
There's 25 good topics that I
good
wouldn't mind
stuff in there.
revisiting.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Yeah.
every 3-4 years, there's enough movies where like I might have to update this list. I could add
right.
1 or 2 to it.
Right.
Especially the DC and the Marvel ones. Especially
yeah.
Especially the Marvel ones with 3 movies a year now. Like 2 years from now, you could have a brand new list.
Yeah.
Yeah, very easily.
And we'll get to top 10 Star Wars at some point. I suppose coming down the pike now with
Well, they've got to get 10 movies first.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Once they get there.
They'll have it in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
2 years.
2 years, and you can finally do a
doing the
top
show.
10 start. Wow, that's so strange to say.
Isn't that
happy.
weird?
Yeah.
Isn't it also weird to think that we will never see the last Star Wars film? Not a single person doing this podcast right now
that's
will
true.
see the final Star Wars film.
I hope not.
That's too profitable. It'll
Yeah.
be going forever.
Oh, yeah. Especially if 20th Century Fox stuff rolls
Now,
around.
do you think they'll do a reboot eventually?
Ooh, I don't.
What do you mean by a reboot, though?
Recast. We're redoing Star Wars. We're updating it with a bunch of celebrities and people that we know. It's 50 years from
Will
now.
they recast Luke and Leia and all
But
that?
a
Vader?
reboot.
You know,
Just a standard reboot.
I kind of say yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
50 years from now, when
Yeah.
nobody has attachment to any of these people.
Sure. I won't be.
20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, yeah, I could see it happen.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's so strange.
Yikes.
That is weird.
I mean, they
especially
just-
when they've run, like when Kylo Ren is now an old man and we're dealing with his son Luke, and
Right.
we're just tired of it.
Yeah.
I like how you're assuming he's going to survive. I
Well,
like that.
You know, spoilers.
yeah.
No, there's no spoiler Star Wars. He's not seeing anything. Jason, will you give the people a rundown a little bit of like your experience with DC Comics? Like, how'd you get into it? Like, how are you hosting DC All Access? Like, why do you love DC so much? I guess all of that. Answer all of that.
Well, I think the easiest reason why I love DC so much is that I grew up on a Kansas farm.
oh,
and
right.
when
What part of Kansas?
it was a small town called Stark, Kansas. It's in the southeast corner of Kansas.
Okay.
The 4-state area.
What are you close to? What's the closest?
I mean, Pittsburgh,
large city?
Joplin. It's like
Joplin, I know.
Do you know Joplin, Missouri?
Sure.
It's like maybe.
My dad's from Joplin. He was born in Joplin.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's like an hour and a half
Yeah.
away from Joplin.
Nice.
So there
That's all I know of Joplin.
All right,
I've
there
never
you
been
go.
to Joplin. I've driven
I'm
through
confused.
Kansas.
you go. Yeah.
Kansas touches Pennsylvania and Mississippi.
No, it does not touch Pennsylvania.
Well, then why did you
Touches
say Pittsburgh?
Nevada.
You said Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Pittsburgh in Kansas.
Yeah. There's a Pittsburgh in like every state.
Yes.
And-
There isn't one in Virginia, I don't think. But maybe. I don't know. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small enough town? I'm sure there is. There's tons of Charlottesvilles. There's tons of like. There's more than one. I lived in Peoria, Illinois, but there's more than one Peoria.
Oh, I know.
okay.
Peoria,
There's lots of
Arizona.
Altunas.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
lots of Altunas.
There's only one Los Angeles,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
that's right.
Anyway.
Until you get down to like Columbia, and then there's a Los Angeles, and then
Columbia.
Peru's got a Los Angeles, and
Bienvenidos.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, Superman was a big deal for me, especially like the death of Superman introduced me into comic books. And I've
Wow.
kind of been reading comic books ever since then.
Yeah.
And then took that love to the internet, started making a lot of comic book videos, and DC opened up. They were looking for a host, DC All Access. They're like, we're opening it wide to the internet. Entered the contest, and because of all the nerdy comic book videos that I had been doing on my own YouTube channel, they hired me, and I'm now in my 3rd season, going into my 4th.
Wow.
oh,
Yeah.
how many eps a season?
Oh, good Lord.
Is it
36, 42? It depends on the year.
Damn, that's a full time job.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a full time. That's worse than like sitcom schedule.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
just
it's-
nonstop.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's and I have to keep current with the DC comics. I read the DC comics all of them every single week because I never know who I'm going to talk to next, and I never
Right.
want to be in that situation where I'm going to talk to somebody and they're like, "Oh, I write Black Lightning year 2," and I'm like, "I haven't read that one."
Yeah.
Oh crap. You know, I got to have a little bit of knowledge base on everything I talk about.
Like, do they send you stuff, or do you have
Yeah.
Comixology
That's the
for free?
Oh,
okay.
that's the best thing about the
Oh.
job. Every Wednesday, I have a special account, and Comixology updates, and all the DC titles are there.
Wow.
Just
Everything.
across the board.
The entire library, all the way back to the 1930s.
Jesus.
You know what'd be great is if you somehow they had like a version of a frequent flyer card, and that all those got tacked on to your account, and then you're like, you know what, I got enough to get all of Marvels this week. You know, just check in extra perks on top of perks.
Frequent bookmarks, or
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great name. Yeah,
I'd be in for
trademark.
that. Man, you know, more people would read comic books if that was the case.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if movies, TV shows,
Oh,
if that
sure.
was the case.
Well, eventually, once it's all digital, you just Redbox whatever or Netflix that version of it and be like, I would just want to read this one, Killing Joke.
Yeah.
I've never read that, and just read it.
Matt's a massive fan of everything going digital. I hate it, but he is.
You know, I got to tell you, man.
When
In
it-
comic books and newspapers, no.
Oh,
Everything
really?
else,
Oh,
yes.
you like to have it in hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the
Comic
tactile.
books, I'm a fan of the single issues digital.
Okay.
And then the trades, like where they collect like
Yes.
6 to 10 issues.
Okay.
Those being physical.
Yeah.
I'll buy those physical, but there's too many single issues out there, man.
Yeah.
And I already. I have a rule. I can't have more than 3 long boxes of comics at any time. And every year, I usually fill it up, and I look at it and I pare it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do a thing. I want to talk about this too. You do a thing where you donate comics
Yeah.
for a call. What is the cause?
It's
again?
called the Jawan Comic Drive for Soldiers. So
And John,
it's
John is spelled Jawin or II?
I-I-N.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
2 I's.
It's it's the first 2 letters of all 3 of my names because
Oh,
I'm
gotcha.
Jason William Inman.
Oh, nice.
So it was a
Okay.
name I came up with in high school a long time ago.
Right on.
Because I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like, hey, I don't want to call this thing Jason Inman. That's pretentious. But
I'll just use the initials.
Yeah, but
That's
now-
slightly less pretentious.
You've saddled yourself with having to explain this every couple of months. What is
I
Jawan?
do. Everybody's, it's like, oh, geez.
Shit.
But the great
Okay.
thing about it is every time I sign up for a new service, I always make a Jawan. I'm always the first.
Oh, nice.
That's true.
I'm sure you are.
But the Jawan Comic Drive for Soldiers, this thing I've done, this is the 3rd year in a row. I team up with Operation Gratitude, and it's the idea that we have a goal for the entire month of November to send 22,000 comic books
Wow.
to soldiers overseas
Love
and
that.
home and their families here, and even veterans. They send them to veterans in hospitals as well.
Huh.
Operation Gratitude is this amazing organization. They send care packages, and they
Mm-hmm.
send personalized care packages. So they don't just randomly send them to people in the Army, which I assume
Yep.
when you were in, you would just get random care packages.
sure,
and stuff
absolutely.
Like that.
Yep.
But this, they specifically find specific people, and they'll write like letters to them and have like a little bit of candy, have a little bit of stuff, and then now they'll slip comic books in there.
Wow.
Nice.
And last year, I found out that they got a lot of thank you cards because there's a lot of nerds that are troops, and
Of
they were like,
course.
"This is amazing, a Superman comic book! Wow!"
That's why Cap America was so huge.
Yeah.
They all had the comics and took it with them and helped foster the patriotism they already had.
Yeah.
Did you know? There's a fun fact. In World War II, the United States Army was a little worried about a lot of its deployed, not mobilized, drafted troops not being able to read. So they commissioned DC Comics to make a Superman comic to basically teach them how to read.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and they sent it overseas into the European theater.
Can you imagine now? They'd be like, Superman would not do that. That doesn't fit what Superman. Man, you're doing it all wrong with Superman. Like they'd be all upset about it.
I mean, there's a
Because
comic
you're
cover where
using
Superman
Superman
punches
in
Hitler.
commercials.
I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
right.
Yeah, well, if you want to go back into that and like animation from that time,
Yeah.
go check out some of the Disney stuff, and you're like, oh Jesus,
Ooh, Song of the
oh
South.
Jesus.
Oh, I don't know that film.
Exactly.
That
That's
was
part
made.
of the Walt wasn't racist kind of. We bury those secrets.
Was that Craig Schumacher? Erase the race.
Yeah.
All right. So you did all. So do how many did you do last year? Did you get to 22,000 last year?
Oh, last year we asked for 20. We hit 37,000.
Wow.
This year we're asking for 22. I always set the goal a little bit low.
Yeah.
And DC Comics, to fit in with the episode, they kicked off the drive. They donated 10,000 day one.
Jesus.
Wow.
So I'm still waiting on Marvel to step up to the plate.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
They haven't-
because you're not saying DC Comics, you're saying comics.
Comics in general,
Any
yeah.
comic
That's
book,
great.
graphic novels are accepted as well. Basically, if you have a comic book that, as long as it's not like dusty and ripped up, that
Yeah.
comic book will work as well.
Wow.
So you could kind of consider it to be like clear up some space for you because look, you could send it to a troop and maybe they haven't read that story yet.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
it. They'll
Even
enjoy
if
the
they
hell out
have
of it.
read that story,
Yeah.
it's something to do.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, how can they donate?
Basically, the easiest way is to go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jawin, the same spelling, JAWIIN, and the video with all the details is parked right on top.
Great.
So,
All right,
Easy
do-
peasy.
Yeah. Do something nice for people. God damn it.
Yeah.
I still like though that you set the goal of 20 and the other people still donate 27,000 on top of more, DC's 10,
Yeah.
but you still got to your goal through people donating in itself and exceeded that goal by 7,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
22, even if you get another 10, I bet maybe this year you get 30 from the
I'm
listeners.
hoping. I'm hoping. Like I said, I'm always going to set it low because I want to hit that goal. I don't ever want to have the year where we'd be like, well, it failed.
Well, no, but,
Yeah, I don't think
50,000. We didn't
fail
make
is a
it.
wrong word.
Yeah, exactly. You just didn't hit a specific goal.
Yeah.
But if you keep pushing the goal,
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
you could get cocky eventually and be like,
Well,
we keep
eventually.
blowing these out.
and the ultimate goal is to not have any war and not have soldiers overseas and need to send them.
Anyway, so let's donate those comic books because that shit is not happening.
I know, you're
That's the
right.
same as all of us winning the lotto one day.
Yeah, pretty much.
That'd be
Thanks,
nice.
John Lennon.
Yeah, right, exactly. Anyway, so there we go. So we brought Jason on to the show because we've gotten to know Jason a lot and we've enjoyed him. In the Schmodown, outside the Schmodown, Jason and I have become.
You know what's nice? And I don't often, whatever, I don't stop, and I apologize for
No,
doing
it's
it.
okay.
But you're one of the people that the first time I met, just through eye contact, was like, that's a good guy.
Yeah.
Like there are other people you meet because I've lived in Hollywood now for so long, and this aspect of Hollywood is not very Hollywoodish.
Yeah.
But going to casting this or going to I need to go to this area to meet these people and whatnot. It's a very like you meet people that are all the same. Like, hey, how you doing? Good to meet
Yeah.
you. And you're like, I don't believe you.
Yeah, I know what you're
I don't
talking
believe you at all. And when I met you, you were just like, hey, it's a pleasure. And I was like, hey, I know I've heard your
appreciate
name,
that.
but thank you very much. It's nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, I like that guy from the instant I met you.
I felt that way too when I met him at Screen Junkies. First
Yeah.
time I met him at
Yeah,
Screen Junkies, I was like, "This is a good guy.
Yep.
I know this one. This one I can get along with.
100%.
I feel the same way about both of you. That's
Oh,
why.
thank
That's
you.
why, like when I was producing movie fights,
Yeah.
I always tried to make you my recurring guest. When we couldn't fit anybody, I was like,
Oh, look at
Thank
that.
you.
I was like, it's John Roca.
Yeah.
Because he'll be there, he'll be solid,
He'll fight.
and he'll fight.
Professional.
Yeah,
The man is a professional.
Yep, and he lives right down the street.
I've sang his praise. Yeah. That always helps.
Yeah.
Yep.
No traffic time whatsoever. But the professional is what we're going to sell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky to be on Geek History Lesson. I've been lucky to be on done some Patreon stuff with you guys through your channel, you and Ashley. And Ashley, the same thing. Like Ashley met Jason at a comic book shop.
Oh, yeah?
His wife,
On-
Ashley Victoria
Ashley's my
Robinson's your wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
we
they
met
met
in a
com-
comic book shop
Yeah.
on Free Comic Book Day.
And she knew immediately too. She saw his face. She's like, "This is a good guy."
Without a doubt.
And
I'ma
I saw
sleep
her
with this
face, and
guy.
I was like, "That's a good Canadian."
Oh shit, green card. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Green
yeah.
card.
We already took care of that. She's good.
Well, I'm just saying, what did you get out of it? You gave her citizenship. You know?
I get free health care whenever we decide to move to Canada.
Boom.
I'm gonna say when I start getting decrepit and old, I'm gonna be like, "Sayonara, America."
There's a chance by that point we may have that here.
Yeah.
That's closer than no wars.
I find that hard to believe.
Wow. There it is.
25, 30 years? Possibly. I think it's in the cards.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't know.
Right after they.
Either way, that system will be more greased. It'll be easy.
Yes, true. Right after they reboot Star Wars, they're going to give us
That's right,
free
yeah.
healthcare.
Yeah.
All right in one. All right.
It's a new America.
And the end of war.
Let's
All
go.
of it. All of it. Anyway, all right. Matt, you want to tell them how the show works?
Yeah, once we set a topic, we all go our individual ways and we show back up here. The way it does on a three-man, or the way it works rather on a three-man weave is I do my bottom five, John does his bottom five, then Jason will do his bottom five. I do my next two, John does his next two, Jason does his next two, then we trade one apiece. Once we've revealed our personal top 10 lists, we create the shows between the three of us.
Oh.
I know,
You
doesn't
were
matter.
almost stumbled at the finish line, but you were almost there.
Yeah, but that one I'm not going to judge myself too harshly
Good, you
on.
shouldn't. You should never judge
This
yourself.
is welcome to the show. This is every week.
Yeah.
Hey, I at least know what a three-man weave is. Though.
Hello.
I heard the
Can
intro
we,
episode.
can we talk NBA?
Not anymore. I don't watch the NBA anymore.
Oh, okay.
Not anymore.
All right.
Dude, you got to get back on. It's the best sport in the
I
States
dropped
now.
out of it.
It is blowing up.
Yeah.
It's 12 months a year now.
It's so and all, so
all the
many
time.
Yeah.
so many compelling guys. Like I like that guy. I like that guy. I like there's it's
I will
stacked.
say, I've lived in LA for 7 years. I have yet to make it to a Lakers game, but it is like a dream of mine to go because every time I check the tickets, they're just so damn
Oh, yeah,
expensive.
yeah, yeah.
They're only
So
going to get
expensive.
worse.
I
Yeah.
bet if you shook the tree at DC, they get you some floor seats. I mean, you host
Floor
their fucking
seats?
show.
So wow.
Yeah.
Their show.
Yeah.
Those things are worth like
think
12
Superman's gonna
grand on
open
the
the door for
resale.
me?
No, I just feel like you should be able to get down there and promote Justice League while you're sitting there. It's coming out.
You got a better chance at box seats. I've gotten box seats from Fox before,
All right.
and that's pretty sweet because you're just down in this little area and
Yeah.
you got great vantage.
I would kill to see a Lakers.
Okay,
game.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
gonna
yeah.
Well, look-
make this happen.
Yeah, yeah.
The three of us should go to.
I'm going to the
I love
Clippers
this
game on Monday for $10.
There you go.
So if you want to see
Ooh.
basketball, you can still see
Ooh.
basketball.
All right. Yeah.
It's Clippers Sixers, and you don't know anything about it, but the Sixers got a bunch of interesting young talent.
do.
Sixers.
Oh, you
Yeah.
want to see that game?
Yep.
You want to see the Sixers?
I want to see Embiid, plus I get to see Simmons.
Damn.
I know, and maybe Fultz may or may not be back. Probably not.
I might sneak out to that game.
It's $10 right now for the nosebleeds.
I might sneak.
You can
out to
pay
that
like
game.
30, 40, sit closer and be like, listen, these aren't my teams. I'll pay $10.
Yeah.
And I know where to park for free, so I'm going to buy a Diet Coke. And
You know where to park for free?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a number
Downtown?
of- yeah.
Yeah.
Grand
Do
Flower.
you just drive up on the sidewalk? What do you do?
No. There are these.
Yeah.
There are these side streets that are like 2 or 3 blocks away from the Staples
Yeah.
Center. That if you know where to park, you can park in a meter.
and so
you're
long
fine.
as you're willing to walk through downtown Los Angeles in a sketchy part.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a block or two.
Yeah,
Just
for a
pull out
block
your
or
mace,
two.
you'll be
Yeah.
fine.
That's what I put in my mad dog face when I'm walking, like my angry mad dog face.
I don't know. I just keep walking. I just
Yeah.
make it
The
look like
homeless
I'm
people think
there to
you're
do
homeless.
business.
That's right. Hobo Odin. I went and saw the Clippers over the weekend. I played with the Miami Heat. My friend has a suite through Fox.
Boom.
But we paid $100 a ticket. It's no joke. So
Still though, for suite, like you talking about a luxury box, or did you get a suite down on the the suite is usually somewhere at a half court, but in the first bowl up.
no, we were in the luxury box. I guess
You were in the luxury
yeah,
box.
we're in the C section. We were in the C section.
Yeah.
I still think it'd be worth it.
Yeah, of course. It was
Yeah,
totally
$100.
worth it.
Yeah.
You saw all the action. And
Yeah, I've gotten to be in a box at a Dodgers game. It was
Oh, yeah.
awesome. It was
That sounds
so
pretty
amazing.
good.
Yeah.
Dodge game is great. At a
Yeah, I've only done college football once.
Oh.
I got a box, but that was it.
Yeah. Anyway, we are counting down the top 10 DC movies, so that's our episode for today. So
Wait, I thought
let's
it was a Clippers talk.
Oh, we keep going.
welcome to Clippers.
It's just you don't know, and I don't feel like subjecting you to that. But I
Right.
appreciate that you like basketball.
Matt and I
I
were
do like
talking about
basketball.
it.
It's my favorite can talk. It's
Yeah.
my favorite professional sport.
There we go.
Yeah.
We got to get you back
NBA.
on board.
Yeah.
We got to get you back on board.
All right. So who starts? You start, or do I start?
You want to follow a good guy? You'll like Antetokounmpo for the Bucks.
Oh, there it is.
He seems like a good guy. Antetokounmpo.
I know who that is.
Do you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
That guy's
Giannis.
As soon as you said the name, I was like, I know that name.
I'll probably end up seeing them when they play the Clips this year.
the Greek freak.
I watched them play last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to this list because you guys were both off air going, this is tough. And for me, I'm like, this is easy.
I'm now waiting for you, like, number 10, Superman the movie.
See, that's the best part. And he already knows it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Superman
He's not?
on film
Oh.
or really in most comics.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I do not like Superman.
It's mind blowing to me.
Which is interesting because number 10 is Man of Steel.
Is that legit?
That's legit.
Okay.
All right, that is legit.
So we're punting
We're punting.
right off the bat.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I figured as much. Listen,
We're double.
One has got to
punting.
make it on. That's my favorite of the Supermans.
It really is.
He can make it at number
That's
10. That's
madness.
fine.
All right.
At 10, Watchmen.
That-
Or, me,
at
9,
9.
Watchmen.
That's your 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
9 is Watchmen.
9 is Watchmen.
Not on my list.
Wow.
list?
That's my number 9.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good time try. That's fine.
I've come around on this film.
Me too.
Yeah.
I appreciate it more with time.
Yes.
And I realized the endeavor of trying to replicate the comic book is impossible, and they
Yes.
did the best they could.
I will say I have as well. I really actually enjoyed the director's cut, but
Yes.
this was one of those that just barely didn't make it on my 10 list.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's not that many. There's only like 30-something films that were theatrically released.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so so there's only so many. But like Watchmen is one of those ones that you remember DC, because there's some other ones that are not DC or are DC, technically DC, so there's games you can play with that. But Watchmen is definitely one, and they did Rebirth of 50, the new 50 or Rebirth?
Rebirth.
DC Rebirth, where they're using Dr. Manhattan, so they're bringing back these characters from the Watchmen like 30 years
Yeah,
later.
and the series that's going to start next month is called Doomsday Clock.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
a sequel to Watchmen.
Oh, okay.
It's basically Dr. Manhattan's going to meet Superman.
You're going to have to let me know how that is.
I
may
already
pick
read the
that one
first
up.
issue, and I quite enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Yeah, because that's one of those. I stopped reading comic books for years. Now I only passively, every once in a while, Gabe, who, is my nephew, we got on the show once,
Yeah.
he'll be like, hey, I like this one. Out of nowhere, and just one of those and I'll try and hunt it out and maybe potentially read it or something like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was one, a friend of mine just handed me the whole thing and was like, you're going to like this. When I didn't read comics, I was like, wow, that was excellent. Just walking away from it. But the movie, it's just like I've seen it now, I think 3 or 4 times fully all the way through. And I've seen it other times where it's just like this chunk, this chunk, this chunk. And I do like it a little bit more every time I watch it. I'm surprised by that too.
Yeah, I recently did, I think it was a few months ago while I was still working at Universal Studios, I kind of did a kind of live thing on Twitter where I was watching it, and then
Okay.
I had caught it, an hour of it on one of the pay channels just randomly, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm enjoying this a little more than I thought I remember enjoying it." And I saw when it first came out, Zack Snyder directs the film. When it first came out, I was like, "Ah, didn't quite get there. It was a bit too much like the comic book. Didn't really have its own vision." But when I saw then I got the director's cut and watched the director's cut. The director's cut was fantastic, and so I was just like, "This is." Because there's a couple of miscasts. I don't like what's her face, the blonde.
Mullen.
I don't like Malin
Yeah,
at all
yeah.
as Sally
I
Jupiter.
agree with you.
Yeah, I don't think she brings the right weight to that part that with
Okay.
her doctor and Dr. Manhattan. I don't believe that they ever were in love with each other. I don't believe they ever had,
Mm-hmm.
even when they have that flashback when they're having when he's about to cheat on his wife with her.
Yeah.
I don't believe it, right?
Okay.
And I think if you had cast a more competent dramatic actress, she'd have been really good in that part.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Malin was just kind of stretching her wings a little bit. Kind of like with Cameron. When Cameron Diaz does drama, she rarely ever gets
Yeah.
it right. Feeling Minnesota is probably the only one she got right when she was doing it. She was terrible in fucking Any Given Sunday. Or in Gangs of New York, too.
One of the things that movie nails so well
Yeah.
is Jeffrey Dean Morgan as
Yeah.
a comedian.
Oh, my God,
he is
yes.
so good. And,
Yeah.
and you were talking about the comic book earlier. There's that scene. My favorite scene in that movie is where it's the flashback to the '70s and they're fighting that riot.
Yes.
And it's him and Night Owl, and he jumps down and beats a couple people up. And Night Owl says the line, "Whatever happened to the American dream?" And he laughs, he cackles, and goes, "You're looking at it."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, that is pitch perfect. Stepped out of the comic book right
Right.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's, when you saw it, couldn't believe they managed to pull off 2 characters that I thought would have been possible.
Yeah.
Which is Rorschach.
The Rorschachs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know how you do that. And how do you bring his sensibility from the comic, this really raw, kind
Yeah.
of jaded individual
Yeah.
who's not wrong.
Right.
Like, you understand his motivation every time he's like, whatever he does, you're like, yeah, from his perspective. And Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was
Mm-hmm.
going to succeed at all. And it was, excellent. Just excellent.
Great voiceover work by both of them.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
obviously Jackie's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
saying the lines behind the mask. He's just doing it, and then he's voicing it over. It was like, Rorschach's journal, all of that great stuff. And then Dr. Manhattan, great work
Billy
by
Crudup is
Billy Crudup.
great, yeah. And the visuals of Dr. Manhattan look really good. To me, the best sequence in the Watchmen comic book is the clock sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's the
Okay.
origin of Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the best part of the movie because they used that classical sort of like German opera song.
Yes. The Wagner song,
Yeah, it's a
yes.
Wagner song, exactly. That was like pitch perfect music for that sequence.
Yeah, and it's just fantastic. I really, if you haven't seen Watchmen in a long time, I would encourage you to revisit, do the director's cut. You'll be surprised because it's even more topical now. Even with the change,
Oh, yeah.
even with the change they made with Ozymandias from the comic book, the reasons of why they're doing, I think that change actually works better.
It's better than the comic.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, so
Nobody wanted to see a giant squid.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Can you imagine how bad the CGI would have worked?
Certain things work better in comic books than they do when you're trying to bring it to the big screen.
But they held to the wall with Dr. Manhattan penis. They were like,
did.
we're
Kind of
gonna
had to.
Yeah.
we're gonna CGI that penis.
Yep.
Exactly. We're scaling everything else up. Let's just scale that up as well.
and the way the Rorschach story ends, fucking powerful as hell. Just powerful as hell. And Night Owl's reaction is so great. So and Patrick Wilson does a great
Patrick
job
Wilson,
as
yeah.
Night Owl.
And you know what's great about the Rorschach is it's one of those. It seems like it should be a trope that we've heard in movies like over and over. And it's the first time I ever heard. It's you that's stuck in here with me.
Yeah.
But it's just like I am the problem, not you. And you're about to find out. And I was like, when I watched it the first time, I was like, how have I never heard that line before?
Yeah, right.
I like prison films. I like crime
You figure
films.
like Charles Bronson would have ripped
Something,
it off.
yeah. And you're like, this is the first time. Wow. I mean, it could be a Mr. Majestic 17 or something, or Death Wish, 12 I've never
those are some
seen.
deep comic book cuts there,
Yeah.
man.
But yeah.
What's
All
your
right,
number
so
nine?
my number 8, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, you threw that in there.
Anybody?
I do not have
That
it
is
on
on
my list.
mine, but I'm later on.
Oh, so
Oh, it's a
punted.
punt?
Yep, it's a
Okay.
punt.
All right.
That's a punt.
What's your number 7?
My number 7 is the Michael Keaton Batman.
Did not make my list.
Not on my list.
All right. See,
Does not hold up.
it does
I
for
agree.
me.
Yep.
It does for me. Listen, everything you're going to say is right. Everything you're going to say is
Yep.
right. But I think maybe a year before this came out, I started reading Batman, independent of this, and then it came out, and it just built my fever and love for that character.
Sure.
And then thereafter, so for like a solid few-year chunk, these were the only comic books I pretty much read, the vast majority of them. So I've loved this character since a little bit before then, but that's when it cemented that entire time. So even though the movie's got glaring flaws, it's got problems galore, especially Vicky Vale coming down to the Batcave.
Oh.
I realize.
Alfred just lets her in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No big
Just-
deal.
Yeah, no pretension of any kind of anonymity before this character, even though that's what it's predicated upon.
What's your feeling on the you want to get nuts, let's get nuts scene? Because that to me is always screamed as so not Bruce Wayne.
Well, it's
Yeah.
Michael Keaton.
It's
Yeah, it's
totally Michael
Michael
Keaton.
And he did it again in Spider-Man.
yeah.
In that scene with the guy who comes
Works,
back
though,
in the
doesn't it?
van, it does. It really
Yeah.
does. You're right.
And that's the thing, though. At that time, like Michael Keaton was pretty huge, and it's
Yeah.
kind of one of those of you let him have it because it's Michael Keaton. It wasn't what it is today, where you view these characters are like, oh, you can't violate certain things.
Yeah, right.
They needed to make a hit product.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know what? The people like Michael Keaton. Let's have him, have a Michael Keaton moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's got flaws.
Yeah.
I can't deny anybody that's going to say, oh, what about this, and
Robert
this.
Wool is annoying as shit in that movie.
Oh,
Yes, he
man.
is.
I hate him.
Yeah.
And Harvey Dent is miscast.
Horribly
And
so.
Yeah,
the commissioner's okay, but he's
Yeah.
somewhat miscast.
And so, Pat Hingle
Yep.
is just one shade above the Commissioner Gordon from the fucking TV show. So it really bothers me too in that way. And I don't like that Vicky Vale is supposedly this woman who was taking photography in Corto Maltese where all this terrible stuff is happening, and she's screaming the whole fucking movie of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
terrible. But Michael Keaton is a fantastic Batman.
Yeah.
That you can't deny.
And Nicholson
And
is an
Nicholson laid the
amazing
groundwork
Joker.
for
Suit
Heath
looks
Ledger.
amazing, and yeah.
Nicholson laid the groundwork for for Ledger with what he did. My Joker is not a fat, middle-aged former assassin for a guy, but Jack Nicholson did a nice job with it, so
Yeah.
I can't
But
deny
then there's
it.
another part. Like I get really tired of that movie of all the Jack Palance scenes.
Yes.
The Jack.
Oh, yeah.
You're my number one.
Yeah, but
guy. You
there's
know?
only, 3 of those scenes really where
I
he
know.
gets to chew the scenery?
Yeah.
3 long, and then he's gone.
Yeah, he gets out of there.
He does.
Like the first act. Yeah.
But once again, I cannot deny you. Every criticism you lob, I agree with.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it holds a special place in my heart and always will. Like Nicholson pulling that ridiculously long gun
Yeah.
out of his trousers and then just fires that, and it's the one bullet.
Yep.
Although technically, if the caliber was high enough, it could do that if it hit in the right spot, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the stupid, the car going in and dropping the little ball bombs out the
Yeah.
side after it puts its armor up. Just why not?
See, that's another thing that I've always had. That was the start of Batman murdering people in movies.
Oh, good point.
Like Batman, like in almost every movie, has killed people.
Yeah.
I know.
And that's totally his rule in the comic books, and that's the movie that like starts it.
Well, that's a good point.
Because he
Very
goes
true.
into the Batmobile, and the Batmobile has machine guns.
Yeah.
And
Well-
he blows up the factory.
Yeah, well, he shoots the doorway out and then drives through that. Do we ever see the guns actually turned on
true.
people?
Yeah, no,
And
never
the
seen it.
bombs, we don't know if it killed anyone. It just blew up.
We see that in BVS though. He turns that gun on.
Yeah, that's where that's the one that bothered me, where he is mowing dudes down, and you're seeing it, and you're like, okay. Before it was kind of like the ATM, but the A team back in the day. I know. Where guys died, like they fell off a guard post, and they would just kind of land and be like, get up 2 seconds later, like, I'm okay. Like there's still the action, but it's kid friendly.
Well, I saw Batman 8 times in the theaters.
Wow.
In 1989, 88.
89.
Yeah, so I was 18 when it came out. And so for me, it was like holy shit. Because I hadn't seen anything that was really a superhero great film since Superman, since the 1978 one, right? Obviously, Superman 2.
Yeah.
But like, we hadn't had a really good.
You didn't like Quest for Peace?
No, or 3. But like, when I saw, I couldn't believe how amazing it was. So I went back. I would go to matinees like every Saturday or every day that I could, see it over and over and over again. That and Die Hard were the 2 films I saw over and over and over. When he hits the
Batwing, he hits the moon, and you see the bat signal, and you're like, dude, I love everything about this movie. And then he just dips back down. I mean, the entire scene is just to be like, look how cool this looks.
Yep.
And out. It's just like it serves no narrative purpose.
Right. But in the end, when I rewatch it now, it's like, it's annoying as hell. So it's unfortunate. So, but anyway, all right. What's your number 6? Yes.
My number 6 is Batman Begins.
I'm going to punt it.
Ooh, higher up for you. All right.
On your list?
Yes, higher up punt as well. All right.
Okay.
Cool. So then we start with me?
Yep.
All right. Then my number 10 is Constantine.
Ooh.
On my side list.
Not on my list.
Okay.
But I do like it.
I defend this film all the time. And I know the people listening to us who are British get mad at me because I tweeted about it, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where I said I will defend this film till the day I die as a good Constantine, as one of the most faithful Constantine adaptations. People are like, fuck you, he's British. Fuck you, he's British. And I'm like, okay, I get it. He's British.
Yeah.
But the world they create in this film is so interesting, and it's an underappreciated film, in my opinion.
I agree.
And I really love Keanu Reeves as Constantine, even though he doesn't have the British accent. I don't want to do him in the British accent because we saw that in Dracula. It did not work out.
It's trying too hard.
Yeah, exactly. Tilda Swinton is great as Gabriel. Rachel Weisz is fantastic in this film. When they go to hell, it's amazing visuals, unsettling as hell, for lack of a better term. And when Stormare shows up as the devil, it's a great. That whole end sequence by the pool is amazing. And LaBouffe is actually good in the movie.
Yep.
And
It's Chaz.
It's Chaz, right? And when they're chasing and I even like Jungmin Hansu as Papa Midnight. Like,
that's right. Yeah,
I love all of that stuff. And to me, it's a film that I rewatch all the time. Even what's his face from Bush, the lead singer from Bush, isn't annoying.
Gavin Rossdale.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Forgot he was in that. Yeah.
In the film, everything works for me in the film, and I just thoroughly enjoy it. And when you see Stormare show up, and you have this Constantine moment where he's flicking him off just as he's about to go to heaven, and the devil goes, "Oh fuck you," and takes the coal or takes the tarred lung out of his body from the smoking he's done and puts him back on Earth. You're like, that's Constantine.
The reason why it works, I think, so much is the same thing you were talking about with Watchmen, is that adapts the best Hellblazer story ever. This Garth Ennis story where Constantine tricks the devil into curing his cancer. And it happens almost beat for beat exactly like it does in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's one of those storylines that I think for comic book fans, we were like, this will never, ever make it to live action. So when it finally did, it's a great story. And you're like, I don't care that Constantine is not British because it works.
Yeah, it does.
You know?
And I know people defend Matt Ryan. And I do too. I think Matt Ryan was a great Constantine. The TV show itself I didn't think was good, but he was good as Constantine. And so when they brought him back on Arrow, I would love for them to give Constantine and Hellblazer
He's
another
getting like
shot.
an animated series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the crossover that he did. That
And
was
he's gonna be
Justice
be on
League Dark.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I thought it was all right.
liked
Yeah,
it.
and he's going to be on Legends.
Great.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give him another series because the first one failed, and I just think he's too busy. I think he is the better Constantine. Like,
Yes.
he's greater, but that movie, you're right. That movie is the idea of hell in that movie is so well executed.
Yes, agreed. And so I want them to do Constantine again at some point. Now that we've done Deadpool, now we've done Logan, we can do R-rated films.
Yeah.
And I think our superhero films, and I think there is a market for Hellblazer, Constantine, because the idea of religion.
Maybe it's
heaven and
that's the
hell.
problem. That's the hang up. We
But
can go
that's the thing.
R-rated, but to bring in Christianity into it, you might be limiting your market within certain. Like China's not going to allow you to open that more than likely,
You're
and you're going
probably
to be cut
right.
out
Yeah,
of.
China doesn't like anything with magic in it. That's right.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay.
And they only take like 10, 15
Do you
films.
think it'd be better or have a better chance if it's Constantine in like a Justice League Dark live action?
Ooh, that would work.
Yeah, that would work.
I would
you know?
love that.
Like it's him, Swamp Thing, Zatanna.
There's so much if they could just get it right. There's so much. Anyway, all right. I don't want to get too mad here with the host of DC All Access in the house. All right. So
I don't make those movies.
fair. So my number
I just
9
go see 'em.
was Watchmen. So my number 8 is also an animated film, Lego the Batman movie.
Okay.
That one is my number 7.
Okay. So we can talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
God, I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed this movie.
Agreed.
I went and saw it at the NoHo 7 on the Movie Pass by myself. I was like, fuck it, everyone else had gone to see it. I went to see it. And I sat back in the back of the theater. I was giggling my ass off and just really enjoying it. And I even got emotional at the end when they make that connection about family and Robin and Batman. And I was like, how the hell is Michael Cera and what's his face from fucking Arrested Development?
Will Arnett.
Will
Yeah, Will
Arnett
Arnett.
making me emotional. And Ray Fiennes is Alfred, who is one of the best Alfreds I've ever seen on screen. A lot of people argue that this was one of the best Batman movies ever. And was just
I
like,
agree.
Yeah,
I
really?
think it is.
Oh, yeah, wow,
I think it is
yeah.
one of the best Batman movies
Yeah.
ever. The thing that surprised me so much. Well, first off, what is the name of the director who's now making Nightwing?
Oh, I don't know. I have to look it up.
Chris something or whatever.
Yeah.
You can tell he's a Batman nerd.
Yes.
Because there are so many jokes in there and so many comic book references. And there's like at one point where he's like pulling up all the Batmobiles from every different movie and every different, you know. And you see the Batusi is in the movie from Adam West. And then the other thing about it is that what balls they had to make basically the Lego Batman movie about Robin.
Yeah.
And here's the shocker. It actually works.
Yes.
It's more about Robin than it is
It is.
Batman.
It is.
You know?
Because Batman's such a self-involved dick.
Yeah.
It's tough to follow that. Whereas this character we can identify with,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah,
some
yeah.
compassion within him.
Right.
Whereas Batman, they set up initially like, isn't there a father that says I love you more than my son or something like that?
Yeah.
As he's walking through a crowd, he's like, you probably should, or like that seems right, or whatever it is. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It's weird because Batman is now basically Bruce Wayne is Batman, as opposed to them being
Yeah.
divergent individuals and like cocky face of it and just this humble civil servant on the other. And now it's just like, now it's the melding of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a cocky prick just to everybody and everything he does.
And then what was the joke that like the only meal he eats is like lobster troubadour or something like that? It's like that's all he eats.
But this is something Lego does really, really well. And they did this with Droid Tales as well, where they know how to poke fun at their subject without making fun of their subject.
Yeah.
And I think it's an incredibly difficult line to walk. And they walk it so well when they do it. I mean, that whole stuff they had in the Lego movie about with Green Lantern and Superman was just hilarious, you know? And so you see it play out. You see this, you take what Will Arnett was doing with Batman in that movie and you put him in his own movie. And you're right, it's absolutely Michael Cera's story because we're Michael Cera in the movie. We're like, oh my God, we want to be Batman.
Yeah.
How do we become Batman? And Ray Fiennes is so great at calling his ass out on a couple of things, which I really enjoyed. And he has to come to terms with this kind of stuff. And it's so great the way it plays out.
Yeah, it's a perfect
And Joker's, I mean, Galifianakis is fantastic as Joker.
Yeah. And then there's the joke, the one of the best jokes ever. And again, it's another thing I talk about. This movie has such big balls.
Yeah.
And because it's like Warner Brothers literally making fun of their own movies because the Bane in this movie is making fun of Tom Hardy the entire movie. And they put it in and they don't care.
Yeah.
What I think is amazing. I was so happy with this movie that I really hope they turn it into a thing where like we just expand the Lego DC universe. Like I would love to see the
Absolutely.
Lego Justice League movie. I would love to see the Lego Superman movie.
The best part is
Yeah.
it'll succeed more than likely to me as a viewer better than whatever they managed to pull off. More than likely, just
Yeah.
hypothetically, because I haven't seen the new Justice League.
Neither have I.
Right.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, you know what? I have more belief in the Lego side of this venture right now than I do on the cinematic side.
But yeah, I think it's easily one of the best Batman movies ever made.
Yep.
Easily.
It's what got me to see Ninjago, and I had no idea what Ninjago even was. But
Did you
because-
like it?
I did.
Wow.
I didn't think it was
Haven't seen it.
great, but I enjoyed it. I had a pleasurable time in the theater.
Okay.
It wasn't as good as Lego Batman. It wasn't as good as Lego movie,
It's
but
interesting that
I still
Lego's
enjoyed
kind of
it.
turning themselves into like a Pixar. Like if they put
Yeah.
their brand on
Yeah.
it, like you're gonna go see it.
And they've been building because they've been releasing these movies straight to DVD for quite some time.
Yeah, it
and
started
now
with like
they're doing
Star
feature.
Wars and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of
Yeah.
random Star Wars
There's only
ones.
the Droid Tail ones. You got.
There's a bunch of Lego Scooby Doo
good.
ones as well.
Oh,
Are they
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
The Star Wars ones are funny because they have this running gag with all of them where anytime Jar Jar Binks shows up, he gets jettisoned out of frame every single time. And whenever he shows up,
that's
appropriately
great.
it's so hilarious.
That's
man.
great. I love seeing the behind the scenes of Phantom Menace. When Lucas is like, Jar Jar's the key to all this. You're like, oh my God. He said this to a room full of producers.
He's gonna be the hit character.
Exactly. Just like everything hinges on Jar Jar. And you're like, oh my God.
Like to not derail us a little bit is I remember
derail
those,
away. That's what the show is.
I
The
know
show's all
those
about.
things. I know those behind the scenes that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I remember the shots of just the guys that were just like had to draw random aliens and planets, and they would just plaster them on the wall. And George Lucas would have this giant highlighter, and he was just like Xing them out or circling them.
Yeah.
And that's how they built the movie.
Exactly. He just went through. Other people brought his ideas, and he was just an editor going, keep, change this here.
Yeah.
This is gone. Like this isn't much of your vision, but everything hinges on Jar Jar. Everything. You're like, wow.
It'll be who the kids identify with.
Yeah. And opening with trade negotiations.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
God, what the biggest thing in my life was seeing all three of those movies at midnight, the nights they came out.
I did too.
What a big, by the 3 a.m. you're leaving theater, you're like, what the fuck?
Trying to convince yourself, I like that, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I like this
that.
part for sure.
Lightsaber fight was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend Mike and I fight all the time because he claims he never defended Jar Jar. He defended Jar Jar for like months after that movie.
I did, but I defended that
fight all the
movie.
time.
I
Yeah,
defended-
oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
defended the movie.
Yeah.
I think every nerd did. Yeah.
All right. That was my number 8. So my number 7 is Batman Returns.
Not on my list.
Wow.
Not on mine as well.
Wow.
It was tough.
Damn, I prefer this over the Batman because I think what Michelle Pfeiffer does as Catwoman still holds up and still fantastic. And a lot of people were worried about what Hathaway was going to do with her Catwoman in Dark Knight Rises. And she did a nice job with that Catwoman, but Michelle Pfeiffer, she carries that movie. I don't like DeVito's Penguin, but you've got enough going on in this whole film that for me it's more enjoyable than the original Batman because of the level that Michelle Pfeiffer is doing. Like Nicholson slides into caricature at times in 89's Batman, but Michelle Pfeiffer is legitimately a damaged woman that was, in essence, abused and murdered by this Max Schreck guy, and then fights back to stake her claim as a powerful woman in this film. And the fight she has with Batman, she gives as good as she gets, and I love it. And then when they have their dance moment and all that like, there's real shit going on here in this.
Yeah, there's tension.
Yeah, tension in this weird Tim Burton, fantastical world that he's put them in that works. The Danny DeVito stuff you can take or leave, and Walken as well, but it's really their interaction that anchors the film for me and makes it enjoyable. And if you have more stuff with him and Alfred, so for me, that's why I put it this high. And you can't discount that. It's very difficult to do a first really good feature film of a superhero character, and then to follow up with a sequel that works as well is pretty fantastic.
For me, that's the best looking Batman movie of that early franchise.
Yes.
Like definitely it's the most gothic.
Yeah.
The costume designs are the best. But the thing that always knocks me in that movie is the Penguin.
Yeah.
I don't know, like for me the entire movie it feels like the Penguin walked from a different Tim Burton scary horror movie that doesn't belong in
From
Batman.
Nightmare
And
Before
his-
Christmas,
yeah,
he
or
just
His
walked in.
henchmen,
Yeah.
his
Oh,
henchmen
yeah.
were like really like obtuse, kind of like, I get what you're doing. That's what kills me about it is Chris Walken and then Penguin's
Yes.
henchmen. Just like it throws me out. It seems.
And then whatever Batman's weird vehicle is that goes through the sewer tunnels. That doesn't make any sense. Somehow it glides along bricks, and you're just like, what? What is going on here?
And why does he
Batman?
have this? Or is it just a specific?
And
Like
we do a
specific,
record scratch with a CD.
Yeah, I know. At least it's not a back credit card.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
I
That's
mean,
true. But yeah, it's
there is a scratch.
It's the Penguin. The Penguin really feels like he's from a dark, like your Nightmare Before Christmas, or like a dark Tim Burton horror movie that we never got to see.
Yeah. He does not hold up. He absolutely doesn't. Because initially when he was cast, I remember people were like super excited.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito, you thought coming off Twins, coming off Taxi. Oh, he's going to be great. He's perfect. Small guy. Penguin is Cobblepot. He's smaller. He's going to be perfect. But then they do this weird thing. The whole movie, you're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, Penguin. Yeah. Plus, Penguin's always intelligent.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got stupid schemes and umbrellas and all that from the comic book, but he has a good intelligence, one that's on par with Bruce Wayne's. And within this, like, yes, he was smart, but at the same time, like, I didn't really buy the overall vision.
One of these, this movie is the primary reason why when there were all those rumors about The Dark Knight Rises about Philip Seymour Hoffman being the Penguin, it's why I really wanted that to happen because the genius of the Penguin is that the Penguin is just the name, but he's a mobster. He's just a mobster business. He's like sort of Bruce Wayne's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like he has a legitimate business, but everything behind the scenes is sinister.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. All right, then my number 6 is another sequel, Superman 2.
Not on my
Nope.
list.
What?
Nope.
What are we dealing with here? We said
We're dealing
DC
with sounds like
movies.
two lists that are more correct. 2/3 of a majority voted on that and
all I'm gonna
said,
say is
not on my
Saran
list.
Wrap S
I don't-
off the chest.
Oh, yeah. Well, but you have Zod, you have Terrence Stamp, you have these great characters coming out of the Phantom Zone. He shot 1 and 2 at the same time
Yep.
for the most part. Donner did.
Which Superman 2 is the Richard Lester one or the Richard Donner cut?
The Richard Donner cut.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Okay, I'm
right.
sorry. I should be. You're right.
Oh, you're just selling out our position over on the side here that quickly?
It's not adding on my list.
You'd be a good politician. You would be a good politician.
Not nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
well,
certainly
yeah, no,
back in
what
the
are you
old
talking
days.
about?
Vote for me, 2025.
He just basically made a promise to both of us, and we both went, I like this guy. You know what I mean? I believe his promise right now.
I'm gonna vote for his.
I'll give you that one.
I'm gonna vote for his bill. Yep.
There's got to be a council member seat coming up sometime soon.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm
there is.
going for it.
It'd be great.
City Council,
Yeah, exactly.
Burbank. Yep.
But yeah,
No John Roca's in my city.
That's
All
right. That's right. Get him out. Get him out and get him clean. No, I really enjoyed the movie so much because it's more time with Christopher Reeve, and it's right before they do the terrible 3 and 4, and there's the romance with him and Lois Lane, and you get that, and he becomes human, and that's something that was really like this. I felt like this idea was kind of revolutionary. This idea of like he wouldn't have superpowers. How could he function as a human being? Because the one thing about Superman is always like he's always the outsider. No matter how much he tries to be part of the human world, he's not human. He doesn't understand what it's like to be human. Like in Constantine, when Gabriel gets punched in the mouth, like when Constantine punches Tilda Swinton in the mouth, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's pain. I've never experienced pain before." I like that we got that with Superman.
trucker.
Yeah, the trucker
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything like that. He had to deal with what it's like to actually be human. You can understand the people you're protecting more if you understand what it's like to be those people. And so I really appreciated that. And they had that love moment there with the honeymoon suite or whatever. And his bumbling is even more interesting and fun in this film. So that when he has that moment, when he goes and exacts revenge on all those guys in the fucking diner, it's great and it's earned. And I just really enjoy. And then when he tricks Luthor and he tricks Terrence Stamp as Zod, all of it just really works for me. So I enjoy the movie thoroughly for that because it's the last gasp of Christopher Reeve in a good
Superman 2 is a movie that's like Batman the movie for me. I loved it the first time I saw it, but
Gotcha.
each time I see it, I like it less and less and less. I love the first one. I think the first one's really solid, but the second one has, and I think it's because it's made by 2 directors, and even the Richard Donner cut is very piecemeal. It's very like, here's a great scene, here's a scene that doesn't work, here's a great scene, here's a scene, and it suffers because of its problem that Richard Donner didn't get to finish his movie.
Yeah.
And Terrence Stamp is an amazing Zod.
Yes.
He's really great. But the problem is that he's taken out in such a bumbling way. And I get that at the time they didn't have the money to make like what we would later see in Man of Steel. They couldn't do that giant Superman fight. But I still think they stumble because they have Superman beat these 3 Kryptonians in like the goofballiest of ways. Like he throws a saran wrap S, which we've never seen before, and that beeps non. He pushes another one into an endless cavern that we've never heard of before.
Right.
And then at the end when he gets the forgetfulness powers and he kisses Lois, and you're like, where is it? It's almost like this. It's almost like that movie. Suddenly at the ending, they couldn't figure out how to end the movie, so somebody opened up a Superman comic book from 1950s and was like, oh, let's take those powers where he has like super ventriloquism and stuff like that. But it just really didn't work. That's a true power that Superman has.
Super
ventriloquism.
There we go. See,
It's a great power, yeah.
it's all there.
Yeah.
All right. Fair. I accept your criticisms.
All right. Yeah.
Is that my number 7 or 6?
I think that was your 6.
All right. 6.
Yes, it was. All right. So then, what?
Yours.
Okay.
Yeah, you're 10.
All right. My number 10 is Road to Perdition.
Oh yeah.
That's called a punt, my friend.
Oh,
That's called a
nice.
punt.
All right.
Yeah, I counted that. Don't
Yep.
care.
You should count it.
Yep. It's a Vertigo novel.
It was right on the end for
Yep.
me. Yep.
My
Was that
number
or Constantine?
My number 9 is The Dark Knight Rises.
Ooh, snuck on there, did it?
It is not on mine.
Nope.
Did it make it? All right. So
It was that or Batman Returns for me.
okay.
So I chose this one.
Yeah, this one. This
Yeah.
one. Because I think this movie has a lot of problems.
It's got so many problems.
It's got
Starting
a
with
lot
Bane.
of problems, but the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy overall, I think, is like one of the strongest superhero
Without
superhero movies,
question.
without question,
Without question.
And I do think that for everything it gets right, it gets something wrong. It's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like Superman 2. But there's enough right in this movie that I think that they mostly, they hit the 20, but they didn't hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
They're pretty damn close because I love Anne Hathaway
Yeah.
as Selena Kyle.
great.
Okay, sure.
For me, she is comic book Selena
Yes.
Kyle.
Okay.
Agreed.
She is, because Selena Kyle is supposed to be the Lois Lane, like Superman. Selena Kyle is the Bruce Wayne. Like, she is supposed to challenge him, yet always be infuriating to him, and that's why he keeps getting drawn to her, because
Yeah.
she's the criminal that he sort of can never catch.
Right.
And I actually
He also doesn't want to catch.
He doesn't want to catch her.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to catch her. But I actually was so impressed with this ending because there is a great Batman ending in the comic books called Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller does it.
Yes.
And most endings for Batman that many writers give them is that Batman either dies or Batman does this endless all-out war where he kills himself,
Yeah.
or he just keeps on fighting.
Yeah.
I like the idea that Christopher Nolan was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell a story of a Batman that gets a happy ending, which I think was very interesting. And at first I was like, when Alfred was telling, I could tell there was a little bit of foreshadowing in that moment where he's like, oh, I want to see you in a cafe. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and you're going to nod. And I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. But when I saw it executed and I saw that moment, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it really, really worked, especially when you cut right to the next shot of Joseph Gordon-Levitt being raised into the Batcave.
Yeah.
Although they should have called him Dick Grayson. Damn that movie
the
for
whole-
calling him Robin. I was so mad. I was so infuriated. I almost threw something at the screen. I was like, just call him Dick Grayson. People have Wikipedia. They can figure it the fuck out. Come on. But Tom Hardy, I think, is Bane. For all the voice modulation problems, I think he does give a great performance. The problems with that performance are the way they modulated his voice.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not him.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the other thing about it is that it was way too audacious. It almost has the same problems that Batman v Superman has, where it's two Batman storylines that are shoved together into a 3-hour movie.
Okay.
It's
I've never thought of it like that, but sure.
It's Batman Nightfall, where he gets his back broken by Bane,
Yep.
and it's Batman No Man's Land, where criminals take control of the city. That's
Yep.
where all the blowing of the bridges comes from.
Yeah.
And it should have just been one of those storylines and not both of them.
Agreed.
And that was the problem with it. But there's enough in this movie that, for me, if I watch the first two, I watch this third one as well.
Yeah.
See, I just ended 2 now. Because Dark Knight Rises, like, it kills me at the end. That's what
Yeah.
kills me
Yeah.
is, so he's been gone for how
For 7
long?
years.
8
Yeah.
years.
Well,
8
8
Or
years?
7 years. 7
Is
years.
it-
No. I mean, I'm talking the very end where
Oh.
they set up this cockamamie. The bomb isn't going to go off for 90
9
days
months or something like that,
some ridiculous thing.
He gets
and
his back in 90 days. Yeah.
and comes back on day 89.
yeah.
He gets out of God knows where in some third world country.
Yes.
I would love to see him scam his way back to getting back to
We should've
how
got
in
that
the
scene,
world.
yes.
Yeah,
How
did
did he
he
do
get back?
Barefoot.
And he gets back the night before. So what's the first thing you do? Well, instead of actually cataloging all the problems in the world, I'm going to go and put kerosene in the form of a bat signal up on the bridge so I can light that. And you're like, wait, time management, motherfucker. Time management.
Look, if you learn anything about Batman in any of these movies, he's crazy. I don't know if you know this. He's a schizophrenic.
Dude, he finally catches Cotillard, and there's a nuclear bomb going off behind her, and there's a countdown, and he allows her to monologue. Dude, punch her in the mouth, get that bomb, and get out of the city.
I also don't.
You're like-
I don't like his flying vehicle in that movie. I think it looks really
Yeah,
good.
it's
Yeah, I think that's why. When I saw it in IMAX over at the Howard Hughes place, and so
That's where I saw it too.
yeah,
Wow.
I we went with
Small world. We
one-
could have been the same showing.
We might have been. I was the one eating cinnamon Wetzel pretzels.
That was you. I was Junior Mints.
And I really fucking enjoyed the movie when I saw it in the IMAX.
I did too.
You can be deluded by shit when it's shown in such a fantastic
I saw it
way.
in IMAX, and I still walked out going,
Really?
"That's what is that?" And then this,
There you
and
go.
then this, and just like,
Yeah.
But I got caught up because I enjoy that opening scene with the plane. That's fantastic.
oh, it's great.
Right?
Yeah.
I
That is
really
beautiful
enjoyed it.
movie
Yeah.
making.
And then you get down, but you're right. The modulation stuff is an issue.
Yep.
But I liked it. I hated that they went 7 years later. Like I didn't understand the
I agree.
logic of that. I'm just start
Batman
where you
never
left
quits,
off.
and that's
Yeah.
a big problem for me. Batman never quits.
You
and I
just
don't
say
believe
he
it.
quit.
I don't believe he becomes a Howard Hughes figure pissing in jars. I don't believe it.
It's just so weird. I just didn't understand that logic because at the end it's like he's accepted the mantle to be the villain at the end of The Dark Knight, and so it's like if you accepted the mantle, then you're gonna still keep solving crime
Yeah.
and dealing with the fact that like Spider-Man never quits. J. Jonah Jameson on his ass all the time. Spider-Man never quits.
Yeah.
Same thing with Batman. He would never quit for 7 fucking years and let the city go to shit because it means like, oh, I really wanted to save the city. And then all this happened. I'm like, maybe not. I'm
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm old. My knees hurt.
This is probably my most guilty pleasure movie that's made it
That's
onto the list.
fair.
Like I fully admit it has a lot of
Yeah,
flaws,
yeah.
but I mean, I just think it's
But there are
for
scenes
what
that
it
are great.
accomplishes,
There's,
it's
Yeah.
way better than some of the other.
there are scenes that are just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And,
And those-
just so beautifully rendered. And I won't deny you, like, it deserves a place on the list.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. It was the most frustrating because Nolan had raised the bar to a degree that I never
yes.
thought
Sure.
possible.
Yeah.
He probably should have never made it, to be honest with you.
True.
He probably should have ended with
Walked
2.
away.
Yeah.
It might
Money
have
was
been
too good, guys.
Well, did you ever hear the idea? So originally, when they made Batman Begins, the original idea, David Goyer always said from the very beginning that him and Nolan mapped out 3 movies.
Oh, wow.
And it was the idea that the first movie was what we saw.
Yeah. Mhm.
The second movie was Joker, and the third movie was going to be the origin of Two-Face with the trial of the Joker. Oh man, was the original
Okay.
plan. Then when they got to the second movie, Heath Ledger dying, well, that kind of threw some wrenches into that. But when they were making the second movie was when Christopher Nolan was like, I think I might be done with superheroes. And so he shoved Two-Face into Dark Knight because he wasn't certain he was coming back for 3. But
Wow.
3 was originally supposed to be Harvey Dent, the fall of Harvey Dent.
See, that
Okay.
would have worked.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, but at the same time, I like the dent in 2.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, I understand where you could cleave that off and you still have a clean movie
Yeah.
that
You
do.
stands. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like it because it more casts them as we do have this hero, this angel-like figure, in him dying, he becomes a martyr, and it's what the city needs ultimately, which is true. You can't have vigilante running around solving your problems.
Yeah.
You need to learn to do it on your own.
Right.
So
That's right.
I like the juxtaposition of the two.
All right.
All right, my number 8 is V for Vendetta.
Ooh, it snuck on there.
That's called a punt for me as well.
Oh, wow.
All right.
This is why my list was easy, and you guys probably had a lot of trouble at the top.
The Outlaw does not have V for Vendetta on his list, but you two do.
Oh, you're third personing it. Well, shit. What is Jawin? And I don't have a moniker.
Mighty Man knows. What are you talking about? You
Please,
have a moniker.
could be the
No, Steve.
laziest
All right.
nickname of all time.
No.
So,
No.
yeah, so my 7 was Lego Batman movie, like we
Yes.
talked about. My number 6 is The Dark Knight.
You can go ahead and leave. I don't know if we need to validate your parking.
Wait.
The Dark Knight.
My number
Number
6
6?
is Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're punting. That's fucking ridiculous.
It was so nice to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I got to let you go.
Yeah. So a thing of beauty.
DC All Access, I'm going to write a very strongly worded letter.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
All right.
All right, so that's it. for
What's your number
6.
5?
My number. I'm still shell shocked over here. I'm like, we got to get to my list.
I'll give you a lot of reasons why it's at
I
number
can't. I'm
6.
looking forward
Yeah,
to this.
yeah.
I'm looking forward.
Well, mine's going to be a punt, and that's fine. Wonder Woman.
Yes, it's a punt for me.
How far away does it have to be a punt?
At least over.
At least 2.
At least 2. Yeah.
And this is your number 5?
5. Yeah.
Wonder Woman's my number 4.
Oh, it's still a punt for me.
Still a punt. So it's a
Yeah.
punt for him. So we're
Okay.
holding for him.
Okay.
So my 4.
Yeah.
A History of Violence.
Oh,
Not on my list.
yeah. I didn't put it on
Really?
my list either.
Almost made it on there. Almost.
Okay. See, this is where I can hem and haw because we're gonna get to a couple movies that you guys
Sure,
obviously
sure.
have that I do not.
And what is this? Is this a Vertigo store? Or was it?
Yeah, it's also a Vertigo.
Vertigo
Yeah.
imprint.
Go ahead.
Which I didn't know.
I gave myself the allowance of Road to Perdition, and once I did that, I couldn't allow History of Violence on there.
Yeah, I put no, I put no rules on my list.
right.
That's why I made my list a little easier this week.
Yeah.
What? You,
I don't like the movie. Go ahead.
oh, you don't like the movie?
I really don't.
I like the simplicity of the story. Of it's just a guy that got in trouble and he's trying to leave that past behind. And he's moved on. He's created a new life for himself in this world of anonymity that he's created. He's a little shell. And one day he, unfortunately, for him, because of the byproducts, he steps in, he does the right thing, he saves a couple people, and it gets national exposure. And then his past comes calling back for him. Such a simple premise for a setup. And I like the characters, the motivations, the way it's shot. I think it's beautifully
Cronenberg,
acted.
right?
Yeah.
I think so,
Yeah.
and I like that movie that year. I don't think the people that were clamoring for it to be a Best Picture, like winning or maybe even nominating, I thought it was really excellent. But I don't think it was to that level. But yeah, I just enjoyed. It's a simple, very simple story, and we have to go back and what is he running from? When you get updated and told, yeah, that is you. You did something that is worthy of these 3 guys or this one particular guy coming back for you and bringing whoever's got to do, with him. Yeah, just thoroughly enjoyed it.
I do think it's Vigo's best movie. I think it is. For me, I think it is his best performance.
Okay.
Now,
I'm halfway through with that Captain Fantastic one or whatever it was that
I
came
still
out
haven't
last
seen
year.
that. I heard
one's a
that's
good
excellent.
one, but
I'm only halfway
to me,
through.
I kind of feel like he's just playing like a hippie version of himself.
Okay.
in that
Eastern
movie.
Promises.
Oh,
It's a tough debate between Eastern Promises.
See, I
and
think I
this.
take that over this.
yeah, I would take that over this.
But I like this movie a little bit more. Is why I think I go Vigo with this one.
Okay.
I don't
Sex scene on the stairs, pretty great.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's
Oh, man.
unnecessary.
Oh, yeah, it's-
when he's going down on her, I'm like, why am I seeing this? I don't like.
Is that why you're not married?
I don't like. Jason, that's a longer list than a top 10. Let me tell you something right now. But no, the Maria. I don't like Maria Bello as his wife. I don't like the whole thing with him trying to be like. I saw it already in numerous Chinese movies. I don't want to get involved, and then I'm fighting everyone in the whole fucking town. So to me, I'd seen this before so many times that there was nothing new. There was no new groundwork here for me. That was the issue. But I loved William Hurt. I enjoyed Vigo, and I liked that.
Ed Harris,
right.
Yeah.
All of that when it happens is pretty stark and to the point. But for whatever reason, I felt the pacing of it and just the whole thing overall was just like fuck. I felt like I was dying when I was watching the movie. It was so long.
See, everything that you're faulting it for, I enjoy the fact that like yes, I've seen this story before, but it doesn't mean you can't do that story again.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of okay, let's trim the fat and streamline this, and just we don't need all kinds of build-up. We just start the story. The story starts here, and then we get updated as things get exposed to the people in his life, as opposed to having to stop and go, exposition time, gang. Let's sit around and explain and do flashbacks.
The fact that it was so subtle is why the reason why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is a Watchmen situation where I may have to watch again as an older man and I might enjoy it more. But for whatever reason, when I saw it, I was just like bored out of my fucking mind. And I like Cronenberg. I love The Fly. I love even his dumb, like Dead Ringers or whatever. Like I love those stupid little films of his. But for some reason, this one I thought was shooting too high. It felt pretentious at times, and I was like,
I could see that.
So, but I understand why you guys love it so much, and it is high on a lot of people's lists. They loved it. I remember that year being like, "Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? I can't figure this out." All right, that was your number 4.
That was my 4.
So then we go to me.
Yep.
My number 5. Sorry, it's the end of a long day. I don't remember all the rules all the time. My number 5 is Man of Steel.
That was my punt from earlier.
My Man of Steel is number 5 as well.
There you go. Done and done.
All right.
Is it your 5 as well?
No, it was.
That was my number 10.
That was your number 10. That's right. That's
my soups that made it on, which is probably going to piss you guys off later.
Oh no!
Of course.
No!
Of course.
Oh, damn it!
Of course. You should have known that going into it.
Right,
I've told you numerous times.
You have. Fuck balls. Anyway, Man of Steel. What a good fucking movie. Like
Agreed.
I cannot defend this movie enough. I defend it every single time, and we have battles here.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm in the passion for this movie.
Yeah, we have battles at the Collider office all the time. It's split evenly down the middle for people who
Who's
like
against?
Man of Steel.
This is the best Superman movie they've made.
Makuga hates it. I think Harloff hates it. But Riley and I defend it, and so it's always it always becomes a kind of depending on who's the room, it becomes like a Civil War, like a blue and gray situation. But there's something about you're going to reboot Superman, right? You're going to try this again. So Superman Returns was a piece of dog shit, and it was like, well, let's figure this out. How are we going to make this work? Okay. You dive into this fact that he is an outsider. You double down on this, and you really explore it, and you do it in flashback. You cast it well with Diane Lane. I think Henry Cavill's a great Superman.
Yeah.
You give Kevin Costner the job as his dad, and you don't make Paul Kent the sympathetic Cliff Robertson from the original Superman. You make him a guy who's conflicted about this idea of having a child who has his superpowers because he didn't ask for this child. The child showed up. He took care of the child. He had no idea the child was this alien who could pick up houses. He had no idea. So his fear is if you expose yourself, they might hurt you. They might think you're a freak. They might put you in a cage.
They will think you're a freak.
Yes, they will do all kinds of things. So what does that do to the psyche and the emotional makeup of a guy, what do you call whatever you want to call him, a Kryptonian growing up on Earth, but he still has the emotions. What does that do to the emotions of the child? And so honestly, he's that Superman that's kind of like hesitant to help. He's not sure. It's not about nobility for him. It's about figuring out who he is as a person. Like, who am I? You know? And so you get all of that. And I love the opening with all of Krypton. That was the Russell Crowe stuff.
Yeah.
So it's those kinds of things, whether you're in or you're out. It's so extreme, such a different version of Krypton that you're either in or you're out. And I think you're in. And the Hans Zimmer score
is amazing.
It's
amazing.
Whenever it comes on in the car and I'm driving, it's randomly on my. I get caught back into the movie. I cry every time I watch this movie. When he has that scene when he's a kid and his mom comes and says to him, just listen to my voice and think of me, right? When he's having that memory after the oil rig blows up and he's in the water, I cry every time, man, because that's that moment where you need your mom to come for you. I had those moments growing up as a kid where I was getting beat up and my mom had to come to the school and like rescue me from these situations because the principal. So to me, it connects on a whole visceral level and everything. So when he's going through the stuff with Lois and all that, I just really enjoy it. And the fight with Zod. And yeah, I get it. They destroyed a whole entire town. I get those complaints. And it didn't bother me when I was watching it.
Nope.
It occurred to me,
Yeah.
but it didn't bother
Yeah.
me. But because I was enjoying the fight, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And him killing Zod. I guess you could complain about that, but it didn't bother me when it happened. It made sense to me.
I complain more about like the way it's set up because Zod could just turn his head
Yeah,
or like that.
true.
Like that's my problem with it, but I don't have the problem that of Superman killing. I think the thing about this movie and the fight as well. The thing I keep coming back. It's a little long. It gets a little tiring.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I like the idea that they were like, you know what? We're going to show you what would actually happen if a person this powerful. And
Exactly.
to be honest with you, I remember Avengers came out the year before, and I remember after coming out of Man of Steel being like, that makes the Avengers battle looks like a cartoon. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus. Because that's what it would be. And if these superheroes really existed in our world, that's what it would be every single week. But I love this movie because it's a first contact alien movie
Yeah.
dressed up in a Superman movie, which I think is such a genius idea. And I agree with you on those points. And I think anybody, this cast is so amazing. They did the same thing that Superman the movie did, where they like rounded out the cast with all these genius actors.
Yeah.
Now there's some rumors around that because Christopher Nolan produced this movie, that Christopher Nolan did this to make up for Zack Snyder's faults, because Zack Snyder's not an actor's director.
Right.
And
Okay.
if you cast all these lead actors in this movie, Zack Snyder doesn't have to worry about directing actors; he has
Right.
to worry about the visuals.
Yeah.
And the cinematography in this movie
Oh my
is
God.
astounding.
It
Yeah.
is.
The new Superman costume's astounding.
I loved it.
You're right. Henry Cavill, I think, is a genius Superman.
Yeah.
I think he's really good. And as a person who comes from small town Kansas, Kevin Costner is my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beat for beat, my dad. And I always get angry when everybody's like, Pa Kent wouldn't act like that. And I'm like, no, a Kansas farmer would
Yeah.
act like that.
Yeah.
And I just I love the beats of this movie. And I think the problems that people have with this movie are the people that wanted this movie to be 1978
Donner.
Superman the movie.
Never gonna happen.
And it's not the 1970s
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Get over it.
Right.
The Superman that is in Man of Steel is the Superman that has been in DC Comics
Yes.
since the death of Superman in 1992.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like for the first time ever, my problem with Superman is I can't relate to him. I can't relate to a lot of people that exist in his orbit,
Yeah.
especially within the movies. And in this one, like the people that were up in arms about the fact that he killed, in the context of what's happening within that scene, he has no choice.
Right.
And if he is genuinely this moral being and can choose always the right side, then unfortunately Zod has to die. Otherwise, the collateral damage is so high that what's saving him, but you still killed the people that were going to get hit right there. And then if he caused enough structural integrity problems to the building itself as his lasers are blaring right through it, could have killed hundreds, if not thousands.
Yeah.
Just like one death is not worth all those people. So it makes sense. And it's the first time I've ever seen Superman be like, yes, that is a choice and a decision that I can see making.
Yeah.
And it's been hard for me to relate to a lot of the Superman on film. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. I don't want to.
I was going to say
I went on for like 20
it's
minutes.
succeeded so well, especially within some of the small animated projects they've done. Where
Yeah.
Superman, where it's like where the sun is speeding up his clock and he realizes that he's there's a mortality to him.
Yeah.
It's like,
All-Star
oh,
Superman.
there you go.
Yeah.
And then Red Sun on
Yeah.
the comic book is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's excellent. That's now it's
Red
like
Sun's great.
painting, asking different questions.
One of the other genius things that I really admire about this movie is that this movie changes a piece of Superman canon, and it changes it in such a way that it makes you look at the past. Because at this time, it was like 75 years of Superman. We're now to 80. It's going to be his 80th anniversary next year. It makes it, when you look at this piece of canon, you're like, that's the way it should have always been. Lois Lane figures out his identity in the second act of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that is genius
Yes.
because Lois Lane is a Pulitzer Prize
Yes.
a winning reporter.
right.
She would recognize that a pair of glasses is not going to do jack. And I like it because it really fits in. Because the idea, again, these comic book romances, is that Superman loves Lois because to him, she is super.
Yes.
She is the best human on earth.
Yes.
And to me, she figures out his identity. She decides not to give it up. And that totally explains why he's like, what's the best profession on earth? Being a reporter.
Yeah.
Because he loves her so much. And
Sure.
I think making that change to Superman canon was genius in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing that I think the film, and this is what I use to push back against people who complain about it, is like Donner copped out. Donner in his Superman, he cops out in that you never see Clark Kent deal with what it's like to be an outsider the whole time.
Yeah.
He only has that one moment with the football kids when they make fun of him, and Lano, and all that.
Yeah.
And his dad, of course, has all the right things to say. He's like, well, son, there's going to be times when you're not going to be able to, all that kind of shit that's like coming out of a 365-day calendar. And I respect it. But like for me, I like that this is 2012 or 10, whatever year
I think it was 13?
13?
13?
Yeah,
2013,
12 sounded close.
Let's
Yeah,
get Scott Manson here.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, movie release dates.
But 2013, either way, it's 2013. It's a different world.
Yeah.
It is not Donner's world anymore. And you have to remember that Donner's Superman came out right as Vietnam had just finished. We needed to believe in ourselves again.
Yeah.
All these 70s films in the mid-70s were about questioning the government, Watergate, questioning our institutions. This Star Wars and Superman brought that back to us.
Yeah.
The joy of movies again, and the idea of believing in the nobility of what we can be, right? That's what it served its purpose. It was the right time. 2013, we're a different people. We're more discerning. We're more aware of people's feelings, and like being aware of like the racism, and being aware of sexism, being aware of all this kind of stuff. And so it's a different world. So he's going to experience these kinds of things, what it's like to be an outsider, so that that's what I enjoy about it. It's like, okay, I get it, and this makes sense to me.
Superman is one of the few characters in all of fiction that changes with the times.
Yeah.
He's a Depression era character. That's where he started. And he hasn't been that character for 70 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I think all the complaints come from is people want Superman to be that 1970s Superman, and it's like, no, we are 40 years from
times
that.
they've changed.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
Times are changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
My number 4 is Batman Begins.
I'm going to punt that.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I had that
All right,
earlier.
Jason, your number 5?
What do you got?
My number 5 was Man of
Superman.
Steel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
My number 4 is Wonder Woman.
All right. So what was your number?
Well, it was a punt for me from 5. What do
Okay,
you got?
that's my number 3, so we can talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah, we can
great.
talk about it now.
Great. I think this is the movie that everybody expected to fail.
Yes.
And it succeeded. It's my favorite superhero movie of this year. By far, I think it has.
Over Logan.
Easily. I think easily is my favorite superhero. I haven't seen Justice League yet. I kind of feel I'm going to end this year still thinking it's the best superhero film of this year.
I think so too, Jason.
I see. I definitely take Thor over this.
Oh, interesting.
wow.
Okay, it just might be like you like the
Just-
more humorous adventures.
Well, because of the jokes they took.
okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's, yes, they're peppering a lot of humor in, but a couple times, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's seen it, and I won't say anything, but a couple jokes were just like, I really can't believe you went for that.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you guys had the stones to be like, you know what? We're going to go 100% on this one. We're not going to pull back and be like, the choice. But anyway.
Yeah.
For me, this movie, Wonder Woman, because it was the movie that everybody was expecting to fail, everybody was like, I don't know if it's going to work. Not only because of the DCEU, but also because, like, can a Wonder Woman movie even work? But this movie transcends every part of its movie. And I watched it actually last week, and I'm so surprised how there are very little weak scenes in that entire movie. I can maybe count 2 scenes in that entire movie that don't work because it just trucks along. It works. Patty Jenkins creates this very emotional journey, and it's the thing about it is that we are all at a disadvantage right now talking about this movie because none of us are women. Because
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw this movie, I got to see it like at an early screening at the YouTube space, and when the screening ended, every woman in that theater was crying.
Wow.
And I remember I asked my wife, I was like, why? Because, like, look, I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
And I thought there were some great moments in it, but I don't know if it made me cry.
Tears.
And I heard this from multiple women, not just my wife, like bawling, like not uncontrollable bawling.
Wow.
And I was like, why are you crying? Why about this movie affected you so much? And they all told me, they were like, it was a movie that I've been looking for since I was 5, and I didn't know that this was going to be the movie that was going to give it to me.
Okay.
And it was, and it's so for all 3 of us, I don't know if we could ever connect with it, but like that to me definitely had to come into this decision.
Yeah.
But Diana is easily the best character in the DC film universe. Gal Gadot killed it, and I think this movie is Chris Pine's best performance. He's very measured in this movie. He sells a lot
Hell
of
or
the
High
jokes.
Water.
Yeah.
Hell or High Water, he's good, but I don't know. For me,
I like him as Kirk,
I like him as Kirk, but he's way better in this movie than he is Kirk.
I think this is a great 1-2 punch with Hell or High Water.
Yeah, I mean, their chemistry is off the charts in this.
Yeah.
So much so when people were inferring when they were doing press tour, they're like, look at their vibe, and you could kind of buy into it, even though, they're both
And there are
taken.
some scenes in this movie that are improv. Like the scene on the boat was improv.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the dialogue's all them.
That's sweet.
Like they Patty Jenkins just kind of gave them an idea. She was like, you just have to get to this, and you have to mention this, this, and this, but everything else, just talk about it. Apparently, the treatises where they're talking about sex, and she's like, I've read all the 12 treatises, and they find that men aren't needed. That apparently was an improv line from Gal Gadot.
Okay.
But like this movie, it's beautiful, and you want to talk about score. Hans Zimmer introduced this very iconic piece of Wonder Woman music in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
But I feel that I think his name is Henry Gregson Williams.
Yep.
Williamson. I don't know. I think his Wonder Woman themes, he incorporates that theme in there. His score, I think, is better than Hans Zimmer's score.
Okay.
And there are scenes in movies that I feel like always get me. And there's one in another movie that's coming here that I'm not even going to talk about. But that No Man's Land scene where she crosses, to me, like, is in, like, if you were to tell me, like, name the top 50 scenes in movies of all time, that scene is in that list.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt.
We both like history a lot.
Yeah.
World War I know so much about World War II, and over the past 2 years, I've gone back and educated myself more and more about World War I and what led up to it and all that. And trench warfare, just to see it and then to cross into no man's land, because they've done it in other movies, and this is just, what would it be like to run through just death?
Do you remember, too, when the early pictures of Wonder Woman leaked and they started showing the World War I pictures? And I remember people making fun of the movie. They'd be like, oh, they went to World War I because they don't want to fight the Nazis like Captain America. And it's like, no, it actually worked in Wonder Woman's favor.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, especially with the way they're setting up, the character, and she's ageless and timeless kind of thing. But yeah, that scene when she crosses out and she, like, all the other men within the trench are happy to be alive, and they look up at her and like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You do not want to stick your head above that, and just to see her go charging in, that was a very visceral, like, it connected with that movie really well in that scene. I like that movie a lot. I was surprised.
There's one final thing I want to say about it, too. There's a minor subplot in that movie that, as a veteran, I don't know if it hit you as well, and it didn't hit me till the second time.
Of
the
course.
story of Charlie. Charlie,
What?
the sniper guy, who is suffering from the worst case of PTSD ever. Because I'll be honest with you, the second time I saw Wonder Woman, I cried when he sang. Like, so when they win the battle after No Man's Land, and he starts singing, and Chris Pine gives this amazing line delivery where he's like, I haven't heard Charlie sing in years.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just like, oh man, like the tears were just coming. Like and he's not in a lot of that movie.
No.
But the excellent actor from Trainspotting, whose name I
Ewan
can't remember.
Bremner.
He was so good. And that those little touches, like no character is minor in this movie. Even with the Amazons, no character is minor in this movie.
Who was the god that the chief was playing? It's the Loki equivalent. He's in disguise. Talk about the chief that's with them. That's a god. Whether or not you guys realize that.
He's a
demigod.
Demigod, yes.
Yeah, he's demigod.
Yeah.
Because I found that out much later, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, it's
I
the
don't
only
count that
hand
as
that she
canon, but
shakes."
yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's a little detail that I need to go back and rewatch to see their interaction." But yeah, I mean, overall, I didn't know that DC outside of Nolan was capable of making a movie that succeeded this well. Every beat, throughout. It was a good through line in the story.
It's so interesting about this movie because if you remember, like, there was buzz that it wasn't as good, and
I remember that.
And I remember, like, we on Movie Talk, on Collider Movie Talk, I remember being on Movie Talk a couple times where I'm like, why aren't they showing Gal Gadot in the trailers talking? What do they think she's not? Because I didn't like her in BVS. I'm one of those rare people that did not like her in BVS.
Oh, she was like my favorite part of that.
Yeah, a lot of people felt that she was, and I was like, this is not
that
my
movie.
Wonder
Not
Woman.
on this list.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
not on my
I don't have a favorite part of BVS. That's the problem.
But people thought she was the best part of BVS, and like I'm like, that's not my Wonder Woman walking around talking about she's walked away from humanity and like she just walks around in these nice dresses and blah blah blah. That's not Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But so to me it bothered me, and I didn't because I'd seen her in the Fast and Furious movie and I thought she was a throwaway actress, and I'm fully admitting this. And so when I went into the movie, I had my arms folded, going, and I fucking loved her.
Yeah.
From second one to the end, she was amazing, and you couldn't take your eyes off her. She played the light comic moments really, really well. She played the moments where she's discovering her powers with that childlike joy.
Yeah.
And even the naivete as she walks into the world for the first time off Themyscira, you never feel that she's a giggling dumb child. She is a person who has beliefs and morals and principles that are very grounded in who she is as a person. So when she's having these confrontations with these people, like when she flips out on the people in the room, the generals,
the politicians and whatnot,
and then goes down the stairs and has the conversation with Chris Pine about it, you at no point think she's quote unquote hysterical or getting emotional.
No.
She's very strongly saying like, "This is what I want. What are you doing?
This is right. That is wrong.
Right, that is wrong. Exactly." And so I enjoy everything that she does. And you're right. Like I cry every time in the movie when she remembers what Chris Pine says.
Oh, that's a great moment too.
That's the moment every time when he says,
and talk about
I
balls.
wish we had more time.
The ball, again, like DC movies, the thing sometimes that DC films do that I really respect is when they do stuff that you're just not expecting.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to. Spoilers for Wonder Woman, I guess.
If you haven't seen
we've already spoiled.
The fact that they kill Steve Trevor at the end of the movie, which I did not expect, because I was like, oh, they're going to keep him around because he's going to be in Wonder Woman 2.
Right.
No, they kill him.
Yeah.
That's a powerful choice.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful choice.
That's why I don't like the rumors that say they might bring him back. I'm like,
I know. I keep him
don't
dead.
do that.
Keep him dead.
Yeah, because it works. Just like the same thing with Captain America and Haley Atwell. Like, Captain America at the end of First Avenger dies, can't go make the dance with Haley. So his punishment is 80 years later. He only sees her on the deathbed.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the second in Winter Soldier. So to me, that makes sense because there's a tragedy to being a superhero. That's the thing. People love. We all love superheroes.
Yeah.
But every single one of them has tragedy throughout their story.
Otherwise, you can't identify with them.
Right,
If
exactly.
everything goes perfectly for him, it's just like, great, you have that plus this amazing ability.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, it's great and all, but how do I identify?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But you're right, Jason, what you say. Like, every woman I've spoken to says the same thing. Like, this was the movie that I didn't know I wanted or that I had always wanted and I never knew was possible in my lifetime.
20
and
years,
to see it.
20 years from now,
Yeah.
we are going to have a whole generation of women filmmakers that are going to talk about Wonder Woman the same way that some of us talk about Superman the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be, I guarantee you, this is the transcendent
Absolutely.
film.
And I know people bash the David Thewlis stuff, but I don't mind it because I like
It's
David
fine.
Thewlis
It's
as an
fine.
actor.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
I like him as an actor, and I love the airy stuff. And Robin Wright is amazing
Yeah.
Yeah.
in this fucking
yeah,
movie, and so is Connie Nielsen.
All right. So that
All
was
right.
my number 4.
All right. What's your number 3, Matt?
My 3 is a punt from you earlier, V for Vendetta.
Ooh.
Ooh, all right.
3.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's high.
That's
wow.
great. That
like
in no way
shocked.
did you say
Did it
that.
make it on
That
your
meant
list?
great.
No.
Oh,
No, not at all.
V for Vendetta's a great movie.
It is.
Yeah.
No.
It's really good.
All
Yeah.
right.
It's really good. It's an interesting kind of like. There's a reason it still resonates with us now because we can identify with somebody that is counteracting a tyrannistic government that is oppressing them, all under the guise of like they all have huge skeletons in their closet, and this is one resurrecting itself from the grave. They thought he was dead, coming back to exact his revenge, tied up within Guy Fawkes. A failed potential destruction of most of London's elite at that time, which, given where England was contextually within the world, would have destroyed the world superpower had that gone through.
Yeah.
And I loved every level that this movie worked at, and I thought Natalie Portman was amazing in it. I didn't expect that to work.
Yeah.
And then Guy, I was about to say Pierce. Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving as V.
As V is just awesome. His voice is so commanding. It is a presence in and of itself, and it's the first time that you noticed it in Matrix. Every time you say like Mr. Anderson or whatnot, his voice always captures your attention. But within that is the character come to life, just within the timbre of his tone. Which is impossible to do. There's only a few people that have that significant a voice, like James Earl Jones. Like it's very rare. It's kind of generational talent where they say something and you were piqued visually as well as orally stimulated. And the story itself I really like, which is just kind of a simple government corruption, but that corruption leads all the way to the top, and it's extended itself out with it's got fingers in dozens of different pies, and it's a simple tale told through a very kind of cartoonish guise. And it's always resonated from the first time. And then I went back and read the graphic novel after because I didn't know that existed. And just blown away.
Yeah, it is. This is another one of those like Watchmen where it's like this is something like Hellblazer. Where it's like there is no way you can adapt this. There is no like I remember going into the theater, seeing this on an opening weekend, and being like, "There's no way this works. No way." With the Wachowski brothers, it's not going to work. And they pulled it off. It is one of their better movies, if not their best movie. And the idea that like your main character is wearing a mask for the entire movie and it just works, And the moment that I really love in that movie is Evie in the rain, where she becomes the new character.
She accepts.
She accepts the destiny, and you're just like, the music swells, and it's so good. Another thing that's really amazing in that movie that I really dig is the editing in that movie is very interesting, especially how they weave the multiple storylines together.
Okay.
I think that's very, very strong, and I like the changes they make in the movie better than the way the graphic novel ends. I think the ending of the movie is way better. Do you know the ending of the?
Of course,
the graphic novel. Okay, Well, Evie becomes V.
Yeah,
that's the end. She puts on the mask and becomes the new V. Is the ending of the book. I think the ending of the movie is much better. And you can tell. Like, it's funny. We have that group Anonymous out there.
Yeah,
like you can tell they read V for Vendetta.
Of course.
Oh, without a doubt.
They use the mask.
Like, that's where they got the idea.
Well, that's why I wear the mask.
Yeah.
That's
for Outlaw, because I dressed up as V for Vendetta one year for Halloween because I like the idea of anti-government. I like the not the idea of anti-government, but I like the idea of exposing corruption in the government. Like,
sure.
I'm very much in support of it. So when I wanted to come in as the Outlaw for Schmodown, I said, Christian, I have this mask. I'm aware of the cowboy hat, but I got to wear this mask because it represents being a heel is destroying the establishment of the Schmodown, which is you and Ellis and all of them. And he was like, all right, if you're going to be if this is all right, fine, I'll let you do it. But that's why I wear the mask, because it's like to represent not going along with the herd or whatever. But to me, the reason I don't have it on my list, and it's hard for me as the Outlaw not having it on my list.
I was surprised.
Is because I think the film has moments that are cheesy and fall apart for me, and I love the graphic novel so fucking much that it doesn't hit the graphic novel heights for me, which is ironic. I know with Watchmen, with Watchmen it is in reverse, but with you, because you saw the movie first, then the graphic novel, for me it's the reverse. I have every issue. Single issue.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There is a wooden box that I own in my house where I have every first printing of The Dark Knight Returns and first printing of V for Vendetta. And then I have the graphic novel of Watchmen, and I have Ronin, the Frank Miller's Ronin, which is one of my favorite fucking graphic novels. So that box always, and I pull them out every once in a while to read them.
By the way.
Yes,
Ronin
agreed.
Totally is a movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I pull them out, and V for Vendetta is one of those ones that at my time when I was discovering my political identity, it hit at the right time. So it was a series that I devoured over and over again. And I thought I think the film is good. I don't think the film is where I wanted it to be. Yeah. And a lot of the British stuff gets real John Hurt, like they all the talk show host guy.
That's a strength for me, is that this
Me too.
I buy him. Like John Hurt, Stephen Fry, Richard Allen, like all these great British actors are in this movie.
Yeah, but they play I don't know. It just feels I can't believe they'd be corrupt. I can't believe they'd be effective in their corruption because they're so obviously terrible at it.
I love all the stupid, like the Stephen Fry storyline where he's this late night talk show host that's also somewhat kind of Benny Hill-ish mixed in with like Graham Norton and
and he's a secret homosexual.
Yeah, exactly. Hiding this from the world, but exposing the secrets and belittling those in power, because that's what a true democracy is. The voice of the people is the voice of God, and we're allowed to say these things to you. And the stifling of his voice, like the juxtaposition of the two women falling in love, and she's reading that and conjuring that, like it should fail on a lot of levels in that, because it kind of stops the pace of the story, but it gives it depth, and it gives you an understanding of the characters as to why then she would make that transition in the rain later on. So not having all the baggage you had coming in, the expectations going into it much lower, I walked out going, this was DC.
See, now, I had read it before the movie as well, but I will say, like, I knew that twist with the prison cell was coming. But I thought the movie just executed it so well that I was just like, I don't care that I know that it's all a trick. It just works.
Yeah, the trick just succeeds. Like any good magic trick.
And I disagree. I want her to be V.
Oh, yeah?
That's why, yeah. So I just have different points of view on it. That's it. That's why.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, oh, she's V. Like, I didn't have like they made that choice. It's just like, sure, you could do that with the story too. This thing's got possibilities.
All right, where are we at?
We're at year 3.
You're number 3.
My number 3, we already did it. Was Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, then you're 3.
My number 3 is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Ooh, there was a punt. All right.
Yep.
Damn.
That high.
It is one of the best Batman films ever made.
Sure.
It was released theatrically, so
yes, it was.
It counts.
It is so emotive. It is so overwrought. It is literally one of the best Batman origin stories ever executed on film. It's the only Batman film that can make a romance with Batman work, and you're not
The doctor, right?
Yeah, it's Andrea.
Yeah, she's the daughter
Andrea
of this old other gangster guy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, no, he was a legitimate businessman that got tied himself in with gangsters.
with the gangsters and stuff like that.
Like you do as a good
Yeah,
businessman.
it has it's so beautiful because it looks like the old Fleischer films, and they animated it on black paper, which is why it looks so dark.
Right.
But I just think that this, for years, was the film that I showed people where people were like, "Oh, I want to see a good Batman movie." I was like, "It's Batman: Mask of the Phantasm." That's Batman. It's Batman more than Michael Keaton. It's Batman more than Schumacher in those movies. It's Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, and I think it is the closest we have ever gotten to the comic books. That's the reason why it's so high, and it was the torchbearer for me for so amazing long, and it literally has the best Batman moment of any Batman film. The moment where he puts on the Bat costume for the very first time and he scares Alfred. Alfred is scared when he sees them in the costume of the Batman. And then, I mean, Mark Hamill's the best Joker.
Yeah, of course.
It's not even close.
He's
It's
the
really
best Joker.
not.
And there's the scene where he attacks the city councilman in the lightning, and you see the lightning crackle as he laughs. And the Shirley Walker score is amazing. This movie, I think, is so underrated, and I wanted to put it high on this list because I think it deserves so much more praise than ever gets. Because Bruce Timm is a genius, and so is Paul Dini, and they're amazing. Like, all of their cartoons, all of their stories are so timeless. I have a feeling you'll be able to watch this cartoon in 50 years, and it'll feel like it was made yesterday.
Okay.
Well, I think a lot of the animated series, that's why it made my list as also a nod to that, because the animated series succeeds in telling a bunch of great Batman stories. It's like it just exposing more and more of the character, and this is what he does, and this is what he'd do in this type of situation, and this is the choice he would make here. So you begin to get a greater, more fuller understanding, and they just did it time and time again. I mean, there were missteps on it. How could it not be with that many episodes? But then to actually do a full-length feature and tell an interesting, like, it's two stories simultaneously. You have present day and then the flashbacks, and it gives you a great understanding of who he is and why he makes the choices he does. And here's someone that can see him for who he is and understand him just as we do as an audience, but the rest of the world doesn't know the real person on both sides of that coin. And for that reason, I think the movie succeeds
And
very
fun fact, it's the only Batman movie with an original villain. That villain does not exist in the comic
well.
books.
The Phantasm does not?
Phantasm does not exist in the comic books. That was invented for the movie.
Well, they did that a lot with the animated show.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn comes from there, from the animated TV show.
Yeah.
And then I think
So does Renee Montoya.
Okay.
So does Lockup.
What about the ventriloquist one with the dumb?
Scarface actually exists in the comics.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought Scarface might have been one
But
as well.
Phantasm, even though it's an original villain, it feels like that
It does.
villain has been part of Batman's rogue gallery for years.
Yeah, stylistically too.
Yeah.
It seemed like something that would have been conjured up in the 60s or whatnot, and they just transported that to this story now.
Yeah.
I do want to say one quick thing. If you, I got a chance at New York Comic Con to sit in the panel and watch Batman and Two-Face, the one with William Shatner and the last one with Burt Ward. I cannot recommend this film enough. It is such a fantastic animated film that evokes the 60s television show, because you've got Burt Ward and you've got Adam West doing the voice, and you have William Shatner doing Two-Face, and you have Lee Merriweather playing Catwoman. As far as animated Batman films, because Killing Joke,
Yeah.
but Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2 is fantastic.
Great. Yep.
And
You guys could do a top 10 DC animated films. There's been like 30 of them.
I've seen them all.
Yeah.
I think for the most part. There are some
I actually just
really
got the-
excellent ones.
I got
That's
the
more of an
hearts-
animated guy than I am, but
I got
Yeah.
the giant box set.
Oh, really?
The giant box set that has like all of them, like to celebrate the 10th anniversary of it.
Well, that's what I was going to get to.
What's
'cause
interesting is we have a charity where you can donate to us to watch
That box
movies. Exactly. If John hasn't seen, because he's a man that likes the tangible object.
I do.
We do then give that charitably back to you. It's a lend-lease kind of thing.
Lend-lease,
it totally
top
works.
10.
Top
Top 10 lend-lease.
Just, it's Neowaj is actually what we...
Ooh, interesting. All right.
Boom. On the fly came up with that. On the fly.
Yeah. I think you could tell
But,
by the amount of craft and how much I shoehorned that in. That was on the fly.
But
No, I haven't seen that one yet, but I love
haven't
it
either.
because there's something touching about Adam West's final performance being Batman.
And it like pokes fun at the 60s, but also respects it.
Well, that's the thing.
And it
Now
does it the
he's
right way.
in on the joke.
Yes.
If you listen to him, he says he's in on the joke the whole
Yes.
time, but the
No, he's
producers
not.
from the TV show say, no.
Yeah.
He was not in on the joke. This is him giving his portrayal of Batman.
Yeah. All right, what's your number 2, man?
My number 2 is another punt from earlier, Road to Perdition.
Oh, okay.
God
Yeah.
damn.
My number 10.
It's an awesome film. Wow.
It is a great film.
It is an awesome film.
Yeah.
I love the film.
It's a mob film that actually delves outside of the regular Italian mobsters, and we have Irish mobsters set in the Midwest somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Illinois, but I can't remember.
I think it started in Chicago. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think they're
Yeah.
just driving around Illinois farm.
I think
country.
they're on like the outskirts, maybe in
Yeah.
Joliet or something. They're not in the city, but they're part of that realm, that sphere of influence. But such amazing performances throughout, and the pacing of the film, the cinematography, the shots they choose to shoot, like the later ones on with Jude Law and whatnot on the beach, and they're out there and it should be this idyllic setting, and there's so much tension within those scenes. Tom Hanks playing against, it's still Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
It's still this patriarchal like character that you can identify with, but at the same time, it is a guy that is a contract killer.
It's so against type.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is 100%. But at the same time, it's the only one with heart.
Yeah.
So kind of makes sense. In the rain, when he's across the way, and it's the first time between him and Paul Newman where they both know where they now stand, and understanding between the two of, yes, I know why you did this, and now we both know why we're gunning for the other. And I tip my cap to you, and I don't want to do this, but we both have to. So hopefully the best man wins, that being me. But top to bottom, every detour the story makes within the movie, I love it to a T. I just, from the first time upon seeing this movie, who just thought it was a fantastic Tom Hanks performance. And it's almost like Tom Cruise with Collateral. It's not something I ever expected this guy to do and to pull off so believably. I just love this movie.
Well, the irony, too, is that the biggest complaints people had about the movie when it came out was that they didn't believe Tom Hanks as an assassin. And I have always enjoyed the movie for him, for what he does.
For that reason.
Yeah. And the last...
It needed to go right there.
It did right, just right
Right
there. The camera. But it's so funny. I saw the last half hour again last night.
Why just the last half hour?
It was because
It was just on?
It was on, okay.
It was just on, and I love the score of that movie.
Thomas Newman.
The
Yep.
crescendos
So
are
good.
so well done, and you in the wrong hands, those crescendos could be overdone. Like Meet Joe
Yeah.
Black kills the crescendos like crazy, but in this it works so well. Daniel Craig is great. in this.
That was the first movie that I was cognizant of who Daniel Craig was.
Yes, yeah,
And he's playing against his type.
Yes,
right,
he is.
right.
As to what he does now, he's an asshole.
Yeah,
You hate him entirely. Just like you're
he's a
the
sniveling weasel.
exactly. You're the rich kid
Yeah.
who expects the world handed to you.
And even Paul Newman, as sort of the Godfather,
so
is
great.
sort of playing against
And you
type
buy
as
it.
well.
Yep.
And you buy all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
you speak-
Sam Mendes knocks this film out of the park.
Absolutely, and you speak about distinct voices. Newman's voice in this film is so great
Yeah.
as that. It's like, oh,
I love the little details too. The coffin sitting on ice blocks because that's what they
Yes.
did,
Yep. Oh.
and they had the little cistern or whatever it is just to catch the water as it
Yep.
drips off.
And also, the guy who, the kid, is Tyler Hoechlin, who now plays Superman on Supergirl.
yes,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he
It
is.
is.
Yeah,
He's great in it.
yeah.
he's Jude Law. Jude Law
Jude
is
Law.
stupendous in this movie.
As a guy who has a weird fetish, turns it into a business.
Yeah,
That's right.
He
That's
just
right.
likes, being around this really dark, the recently deceased.
Yeah. And Matt and I, like you said, Matt and I are big fans of history. This is a time period film,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
does it really, really well. Just like Miller's Crossing has that kind of same vibe in terms of Irish gangsters again, but also getting it right in terms of all of it, the wood, all of it, just about
Yeah, the
vibe,
costuming.
Yeah,
all
the
of
film
it is
really,
there.
especially with the cinematography,
Yeah.
does have like a texture to
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And it really does feel of that Depression era. And especially like with the music. When you get to the final shot of the movie, you're just
Yeah.
like, man, you feel like you've lived through the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Like you do.
Yeah.
in a
And this
gangster
journey.
movie.
And, well, you see it in the stark contrast between these guys that are thieves.
Yeah.
They're really successful thieves, but they're the ones that are dressed to the nines. And they have the glitziest house because they're blowing through all this cash because there's always going to be more cash coming in. And then we end up in that farmer's house later on when it's just Tom Hanks
Yeah.
and his son.
Yeah.
And they're living the life that everybody else in the country was at that time, trying to scrape by and get through, and just the juxtaposition of the two. And this is... When you get to the farmhouse, like this is where you should be, Tom. See how you fit in this world?
Yeah.
Bring your family to this.
Right.
Get them out of the hellhole that you've created, because there was no other outcome but this ultimately.
Well, yeah, and that's what I like about the film. It ends the way it's supposed to end.
It has to end that
right.
way.
That has to end that way. He does not. I don't want to spoil it, but like he does not get to
I mean,
walk.
you could
walk
spoil
away.
it 20 years
Yes,
ago,
20 years ago. He doesn't get to walk away. He doesn't get to.
You couldn't.
And he shouldn't.
And he shouldn't. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless he's a superhero,
Right.
where he gets to one day just show up at the house that Newman lives in and just mow everybody down,
Right.
like the raid style, and he just goes floor to floor, and then eventually final boss at the top level. Well, that's not really the raid, but you know what I
Right.
mean.
This is also this is a DC movie that transcends the source material.
Yeah.
There are 2 graphic novels. The first graphic novel is the movie. The second graphic novel they made after the movie, and it tells more about the time, the period in the movie where the father and son are robbing all the banks.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So the second
yeah.
graphic novel expands that time period. And you get to see like every single bank robbery they do.
wow.
They're great. They're black and white. I would say if you like the movie, read them. But like it's Sam Mendes, Thomas Newman, and Tom Hanks that transcend it above the source material.
Yeah, yeah, that seems more like a fun. There's a reason that's just the montage.
Yeah.
Because it's fun, but it's not. There's no depth to it. You're not really telling the character of the story. You're just kind of telling little escapades they get into.
Yeah. All right, that was your number 2?
Yep.
My number 2 is Superman the movie.
That is my number 2 as well.
There, yeah. You have to put it there. You have to put it
You know where I have to put that is not even on my side list.
Right, well,
That's where you
I
have
hate
to
to
put
bring it
that.
to you, but as you said earlier, 2/3 majority.
Yep.
This thing is ending up on the list now.
It's just weird to be in a room where you know that 2 out of 3 people are wrong. That does not happen. This third dentist is
same
correct,
number,
guys.
too.
I feel like he used his arguments growing up
Yeah,
with
yeah,
his
a little
parents
bit.
as well. I feel like
2 out of 3, wrong.
but no, listen, you have to. And
Yep.
it's the one that kicked it all off. It's the one that still I will rewatch 9 million times and never get tired of it. The love story is precious. This is a great Lex Luthor, even though what people complain that he's not the best Lex Luthor, he's not bald, blah, blah, blah. Hackman is great as Lex Luthor. I love the Ned Beatty stuff, Miss Tessmacher, all that stuff.
Otisville.
Otisville! All of that stuff is so well done, and it loves the source material.
Yeah, it
I think
does.
that's the number one thing throughout the whole movie. You get what Smallville. Like, I'm not from Kansas, but I don't. But like that whole
You want to know
beginning
you
of the
want a fun
movie.
fact in this movie?
Yeah.
Smallville was not in Kansas till this movie.
Oh, what?
Oh, it exists after?
It's this movie that puts But until then, Smallville was just nebulous somewhere farm town, and it's this movie that puts it in Kansas.
Huh.
Yeah.
And it totally works. That actor who plays Clark Kent as a teenager.
Oh, I
is
believe it.
Incredible as Clark Kent as a teenager. When Cliff Robertson dies, you feel that. Or Glenn Ford, rather. Glenn Ford.
Yeah.
Sorry, not Cliff. When Glenn Ford dies, your heart fucking breaks.
Yeah.
Because he just goes, oh no, and you're like, oh man. And the conversation he has with his mom with Ma Kent about what he has to do next, and then boom, he's Christopher Reeve, and you totally buy it. He looks nothing like that kid, but you totally buy it.
The kid with the bad wig, yeah.
The kid with the bad right. But you totally buy it, but the joy of it, like racing the train. All of it is there to bring you into the world of Superman. And then you add Margot Kidder, who is still, in my opinion, still the best Lois Lane ever. Just has
Agree to
that.
disagree?
It just has that. She has that vibe, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, she's not, right. She gets fooled by the glasses or whatever, but she's still such a brassy, ballsy reporter. And from that time, 1978, having a female character like that in a film like that was so great. And then to see what he does at the end of the film is no different, in my opinion, than what happens at the end of Man of Steel. He makes a decision to violate his father's rules and reverse the Earth for a selfish desire to keep Lois Lane alive. And if you're okay with that, you better fucking be okay with him killing Zod with snapping
That's
his
a
neck.
good idea.
That's my opinion, because
I'm going to accept that argument.
yeah, it's true.
I'm going
because
to use that, actually. That's a good argument.
He like all this natural phenomenon, he is violating the laws of nature for a selfish desire for his love
He
of
just
Lois
fucked
Lane.
the space-time continuum
Yeah.
for a girl.
For a woman. Or as Jack Nicholson, for a woman. Yeah, so it just, for me, it's like, and I love it. I love that he does it. It's sweet, it's romantic, it's beautiful gesture. And she has no concept that he's done it, which is even more romantic about it. But to me, it's still a violation of the laws.
Yeah.
And I like that. It puts an edge to Superman that isn't normally there. And Christopher Reeve's anger as he screams into the air as he flies to do what he's going to do is just heartbreaking.
The craziest thing about this movie for me, and I think it's part of the reason why I love it, is that it's a movie, again, it's a movie that shouldn't work. It's 3 different movies.
Yeah, it is.
It's like this weird 70s sci-fi film about crystals with Marlon Brando.
Yeah,
right
at the
Who keeps
beginning.
saying Krypton.
Yeah,
And he's reading his lines off the side. It is this weird God, what's the painter name for he did the Saturday Evening Post, and it's like all the
Norman Rockwell.
Norman Rockwell.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's this Norman Rockwell weird farm depression movie, and then it becomes like a superhero comedy.
Yeah,
And it's
screwball comedy.
Yeah, screwball,
absolutely.
and it's almost 3 completely different movies, but for some reason it really works. And the John Williams score kills me. Remember I talked about No Man's Land, like Wonder Woman being that scene?
Yeah.
For me, the scene in this movie that does that is the scene in the wheat field with Ma.
Yeah.
When he tells Ma that he's going to leave, and there's this amazing jib shot that goes around, and this dolly shot. You're just like, oh my God.
Yes.
And you're talking about Pa Kent dies.
Yeah.
It's funny because my wife had never seen this movie before we dated. She'd never seen it before me, and actually one of the first gifts she'd ever gave me, we were like 3 months into dating, is she bought me Superman the movie on Blu-ray because I only had it on DVD at the point. And I was like, all right, now you bought it for me, we got to watch it. And she was like, I don't know, I just because I think she had thought I'd been built up, like people were like, you got to see Superman the movie. She's like, there's no way it can like meet my expectations. And I remember when we stopped the movie. Where we finished it, I mean, the first thing she said was, okay, I understand why everybody touts up Christopher Reeve. I get it.
Sure.
I understand. And he is the Silver Age Superman to a T.
Absolutely.
Like perfection in that. And
even up to the hair curl. Yeah.
even up to the hair curl, like the smile, like he gets a little nervous like when he looks at the color of her panties, like like that's Superman, like that's perfect. You should stop smoking, Lois. That is totally like Silver Age Superman. But there is again, this is that transcendent movie. This is the movie. There's a reason why everything Superman, comic books, cartoons, even Man of Steel is still. This is why Bryan Singer basically made a fan film for this movie.
Yeah.
And that's what they thought was the perfect way to reboot Superman, because nobody thought you could do anything different. Like, this movie is such a lightning rod in superhero cinema, just cinema in general, I think.
Yeah, it is the building block for all the superhero movies we see now. Absolute is the number one foundation.
Exactly. They saw this and said, do not do this. Make something that is coherent and is likable, and you understand the character.
One day,
when he flies backwards, that's what, as a kid, I was like, I fucking hate this movie. As a kid? As a kid.
Wow.
As an adult, it offends me even more.
Wow.
Because I understand all the nonsensical nature of all this. Even if you have a character that can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes and everything else, that part was just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm not.
Did he can reverse the Earth's polarity?
The only thing I love about it is Chris Reeve is amazing.
Yes.
He is amazing, hands down. And the score is one of the best. When that single trumpet comes in, it hairs on the back of my neck. Even though I'm not a fan of the movie, that comes up, I'm like, you buy it.
And that score does the same thing.
You're like, fuck yeah, man.
It changes.
Hand up.
If you listen to the Krypton section of that score, it's completely different in the farm section of the score to the Superman section of the score. They're complete. Again, it sounds like John Williams was like scoring 3 different movies.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
For me, it's the buildup. It's dun 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 dun.
Yeah, it just works to a degree.
Yeah.
That man, but
and there are jokes, and you're right. It's I never even thought of it that way. It's like it's His Girl Friday. It's basically that. It's a screwball comedy in a superhero film that when they get to Metropolis and all that they.
I mean,
do
you can't
there.
figure out how the door works.
Yeah,
right? I know. But this movie It's funny. This movie like works so well, and I think that's the reason why Superman 2 never connected with me, because I thought this movie was so great. The biggest weakness of this movie, I'd say, is that there is no real true villain.
Yeah.
Like, Lex Luthor sort of, but
it's for real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not to take over the world. It's real estate. It's not a big,
it's a Bond villain.
Yeah.
That's Chris Walken.
That's a great point.
And now I'm blanking.
But it's still a revered film.
Oh, yeah.
And so much so that when the beginning of the last trailer for Justice League is essentially Donner Superman.
Yeah.
With her out on the porch and him in the wheat field, which is very reminiscent of what the kid does before he leaves.
Oh, did you not see the Superman Easter egg in that trailer, my friend? There's even
What's that?
You can see it in the trailer. Clark in that shot, in that trailer, is wearing the exact same outfit that Clark wears in the wheat field.
That's
with
what
Ma
I'm saying.
In 1977.
Yes.
He's wearing the same plaid shirt.
Yes.
And he's wearing the same jeans.
That's
and I was like, they did that on purpose.
Yes.
Of course they did.
And that's why I said it's still a book. So I guess I caught it, but it was so obvious it didn't seem like they were trying to hide it. So they were trying to evoke Donner Superman, which was everyone's main complaint about Man of Steel was it's not Donner Superman. Well, here they are. They're throwing it into Justice League, and I wonder how that's going to play.
It'll be interesting, especially since they're going to like put pieces of John Williams' Superman Superman
Yes.
score in Justice League.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they
Yes.
are. And Danny
And
Elfman's
Danny Elfman's
Batman score is
score.
in Justice League 2. It'll be interesting.
Really?
They might, those themes might not jibe with these characters. You might be like, I don't know about that.
The John Williams still could, but I'm more intrigued by the Danny Elfman. Like, wow,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's you need to marry that with Tim Burton or somebody else that gets the sensibility of that music.
You should find it, man. They released it. And
Okay.
it combines the Batman theme that they had established in BVS
Sure.
and this one.
With the Williams?
and the Tim Burton.
Oh, okay.
The Danny Elfman, right?
Yeah,
Danny
yep.
Elfman Batman theme. So they've released that. It's a 4.5 minute piece, and you can hear it.
All right.
It's weird because that's one of the few things I actually liked about Batman v
Yeah,
Superman
yeah.
is that I liked the Batman theme that Junkie XL came up with.
Yeah.
That plays over the opening credits where you
too.
see his parents die for like the 57th time.
Yeah.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!
Yeah.
And
The
then
opening
bats lift him
12
out.
minutes. Like, Jesus, we know the story. Come on.
And then bats.
I
lift
felt
him out of the
bad
well.
for Henry Cavill because they hijacked a
They
Superman
really
movie.
fucking
They took
did.
away his sequel.
They did.
They did.
They did. After Man of Steel. That's why I liked it. And I was like, I can't wait to see you do with this. And you're like, you took away his movie. I felt legitimately for a guy that's
Batman
making
stole his
millions of
movie.
dollars. I was like, dude, that sucks.
It's not the first or last time that WB has overreacted to fans' reactions to a film. That's
Yeah.
why they did that. They did that because it wasn't universally beloved.
Yeah.
That they made that decision to try to bring Batman in. To get
Yeah,
people
well,
in
he's
seats.
the man on the ground now seeing all this destruction, which is the audience being pissed off that
Yeah.
Metropolis gets destroyed. In the first one, it cost trillions of dollars of damage. Bruce Wayne was on the ground going, I'm one of those people now that's pissed.
Yeah.
Being the audience. And be like, I get it.
Yeah.
But
it didn't work.
Yep,
but,
didn't work.
But I push back on that because I know we'll move on to number one, but I want to say one more thing in defense of Man of Steel. People complain about that. It's the first time he's fought somebody. He's not gonna fucking know how to do the Bowers thing and figuring out against all these buildings. He's gonna fuck up and make mistakes.
One of the best lines in that movie is where Zod says, "Where were you trained? A farm?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true because he's all over the place trying to figure this out as it goes along. And it's there's in Batman Year One when the Mazzucchelli book when he goes out to do his first thing, he almost breaks his ribs jumping on the alley, jumping on the whatever it is, the fire escape because he doesn't know yet how to be Batman. This is Superman's first fucking fight. So to me, you're going to create this idea that he knows exactly what to do. No, he's going to fuck shit up. He's going to blow up buildings.
He's gonna break an IHOP.
Yeah, he's going to break an IHOP.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Jerry. All right. Anyway. All right. So number one, I can't believe we don't.
I know.
All have them in the same number
that's
one.
what I'm saying. It's just whatever yours is incorrect.
All right. So
I don't,
Matt,
is incorrect.
No, it's
should
not.
we let him do
no,
it or
it's
should we
not.
do ours?
No, you should do yours.
Well, technically, yeah.
All right.
We're sticklers for the
Build
rules.
that mountain so I'll soar over it.
Sure.
Which is our number one is The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Is arguably the best superhero movie of all time.
Period.
Yeah, nothing else even comes close to me. This is number one. Now we'll have a discussion of what two is. It is. That's the
Look, if you just want to kowtow to the mob, fine.
Well, once again, like I said before, the voice of the people is the voice of God. The
people.
So the
Superman
people have
movie's
spoken.
Amazing.
Yeah.
God, there's nothing better.
This is just so just from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And just from that opening scene, Nolan knows exactly what he's doing with this character, knows exactly what he's doing with this world. The fact that you don't hear any kind of sound that right from the beginning.
Building
you're like,
it.
This is a whole nother fucking
pure
ballgame.
tension.
Yes. It's not even a superhero movie anymore to me. It's something else.
No, this is a crime drama.
Yeah.
This is a discussion of corruption. This is a discussion of real society. This could be a place.
Yep.
Because then the Joker isn't this over the top kind of outlandish character that you wouldn't see. It's just this guy that likes chaos.
Yeah.
And he got to come in and take out the mob and organized crime element by just introducing a little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple idea for a villain that is executed brilliantly throughout. At no point is there a deviation from any of the characters. Every choice makes sense. I even love the stupid little things of the guy that figures out who Batman is.
Yeah.
And confronts Lucius Fox and is trying to get a payout. And Lucius then, I didn't see it coming, flips it around on him. He's like, are you fucking kidding me?
So you're telling me
Exactly.
this billionaire who does it, that you're going to try to expose him
Yeah.
and thinks that's going to happen.
You came in here with balls a swinging, and I neutered you with one swipe. Oh, it's beautiful.
His reaction, he folds up the plane.
Exactly.
Leaves the room.
He realized he tucks his tail and was like, okay, well, I need to get the fuck out of here. because I just opened a can of whoop ass on myself. Think about it. This guy has endless resources of every capacity you could ever imagine, whether it's just the monetary, the political influence, the power of his business, and also, hey, guess what? On the side, he's the baddest motherfucker alive. The world's greatest detective. He has every toy imaginable. Oh, just beautiful from every choice they make for the characters.
I think this is the best Michael Caine as Alfred film as well. Like he's having that discussion of what he went through as a soldier, but finally bringing in this backstory,
which is canon,
right? In an Alfred that finally to bring in that conversation and talk about it, and it says, some men just want to watch the world burn.
It's true.
And that is the Joker, and then you get Heath Ledger, which is a once in a lifetime performance, and unfortunately passed away while he was doing it. But like he wins that Oscar, he's stupendous. He's what you measure every villain to now, ever since that movie. He is the diehard of villains. You measure everything to what Ledger did with that Joker.
And there was an interesting thing talking about where I brought up the point where people before Wonder Woman came out, they were like, oh, World War I. I remember when people saw the pictures of Ledger and were like, this is not going to work.
Right.
What the hell is this hippie Joker? What is this?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You are correct, and his performance is amazing.
It is.
Now,
and they get rid of what's her face, Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes,
They bring in Maggie Gyllenhaal, a much better actress who does fantastic work as
and then
that
killing
character,
her off.
and then
Rachel
killing
Dawes,
her off. I mean, what the fuck? And the only complaint I have about the movie is the Two-Face stuff, because I'm not the biggest fan of what's his face.
Aaron Eckhart.
Eckhart. I'm not the biggest fan of him, and so when he comes in as Two-Face, it is his. And this is what I always get angry about with the Two-Face storyline. He should not go crazy that quickly. He should be damaged. He should take time. He should figure, and then slowly become insane, because he cannot be pretty again. It has to be part of it. They always make Two-Face turn crazy overnight, but they don't give you any illusion to the fact that he has that within him. He has that gear within him. And I think you got to see that from Harvey Dent before he goes nuts. And yeah, there's moments where he gets overly passionate in Dark Knight, but it doesn't make you believe that he could be this crazy fucker afterwards and be seduced by the Joker in a nurse's outfit to not go after the Joker, who fucking killed the love of his life and burnt half his face off.
Yeah, but don't you buy the Joker? Like, he's so cunning in that scene.
Well, sure. I buy
I'm just saying,
Ledger.
like, he's pouring honey into his ear, and I can understand Two-Face making the choice that he does.
Right.
Because he offers himself up. Let's put the gun in my head. Go right ahead. If you want to do that, it's and he gives him the coin, like, just sets that up so beautifully. Shit, I forgot the point that I was just about to make.
Sorry, man.
It's all right. I got enraptured by what you were saying with that. And I was like, yes.
I could get long.
Yes. This is why it is number one.
This is why.
In the face.
It's a back lunch.
Look, in every respect, The Dark Knight is an amazing, astounding film. I find for me,
I know what it was.
Here it is for rewatchability that it's a little long.
What?
It's a little long.
Oh.
Yep. Because the Two-Face stuff is a little bit because the Two-Face
I
stuff.
don't like the Two-Face
I like
stuff.
Two-Face. I like Aaron Eckhart. I think the special effects are really cool.
Oh, the special effects are
But and I might be tempered a little bit by that. I know that Two-Face was supposed to be the third movie, but it does really be like, oh, this should have been he should have had his own movie.
Yes.
Should have had his own movie. And I always
You're right.
I always look at what's the point of going to Hong Kong. That's the one scene in the movie that
because you
always
get the
bumps
guy.
me, that I was like, oh, you only went to Hong Kong to film IMAX cameras. I mean, it's a cool sequence.
Oh, maybe.
I like that Batman flies in there. But,
Yeah, and potentially to open up to the Asian markets.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm more aware of that after that Transformers, which one was it, where they ride the dinosaur, Age of Extinction.
Oh, yeah.
And they just suddenly go to
dare you.
China, and you're like, oh, Jesus.
Yep, even though they filmed it in Chicago and you see the Sears Tower.
Yeah, it's just like,
Sir, how
you already know you're going to get the opening there. Now you're just
Yeah.
sweetening the deal with the government there. Like, I get it.
You know,
Stop it.
but yeah, Dark Knight is astounding. It is an amazing film. But the reason why it's not number one for me is because it is.
Oh, this ought to be good.
It's a crime film that Batman just shows up in. It is not a Batman movie. It is a Joker crime movie.
Interesting.
Joker is the main character of that movie more than Batman is.
Yes.
And the movie is called The Dark Knight.
Right.
That is my biggest conundrum with that movie. Is also I can hold that complaint to The Dark Knight Rises as well. These are two movies where Batman is not the star of the movie that is named after him. The Tim Burton movies were the same things. Like, the villains overwhelm the movie so much that Batman's not the star.
I think I'll give you that one in the third one. I don't believe you in the second.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
the Joker he steals every scene that he's in.
Right.
I will give you that, but he is not the focus of. His motivation is just basically that he is the yin to Batman's yang. So when he comes in to check the force of Batman is still propelling that storyline throughout. Whereas in the third one, he is almost an ancillary character at times.
Yeah, but I always feel that like Batman in Dark Knight is very reactionary to the Joker instead of being very proactive to the Joker, which is what.
Yeah, but he
Batman
doesn't
is.
have he does. He can't read his mind, so he has to react to the
And
situation
this is very
that's presented to
nitpicky.
him.
You know,
Yeah.
like I said,
No, it's a.
where I'm just saying, like, these are the reasons why I didn't give it my number one.
It's a
and,
valid
like
discussion
that.
point. I don't agree with him with Matt. I don't agree with you because he is the reason he's on the defensive and reactive is he's never dealt with someone like this.
No one
And-
has.
and no one has. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And he knew how to corral Gotham's villains. He knew how to fuck with Eric Roberts and Michael Jai White and all those people in that room. He could.
See, Eric Roberts is not a plus of this movie.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, but they only use him sparingly,
Yes.
so it's fine.
He's
I remember
Falcone,
when he
right?
showed up, I was like, Eric Roberts.
I know it was sitting there. I was like, "Wow, who do you know? Like, what EP did you used to do coke with that got you
Yeah.
this part?"
but like, yeah, right, exactly. 'Cause especially when you have Tom Hiddleston in the first one, who's really great in that part. But yeah, but he knew how to handle these people. He knew he could
Think
keep
Tom
it in
Wilkinson?
control. Yeah, Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
Tom
I
Wilson,
was
yeah.
like, Loki was not in that movie.
Oh yeah, Wilkinson. All those British guys. I'm getting old.
A lot
I'm
of
gonna lose all
English
this
Toms.
bonus.
It's all good. Yeah, there's so many Toms.
But like then he knows how to go. So when the Joker shows up, it's a whole other ballgame, and nobody can deal with him. Nobody can
No.
fucking deal.
Yeah.
So he's got to. I do think it's his story because he's got to figure out how to deal with him. He's asking Lucius Fox. He almost loses Lucius Fox as an ally with that contraption they come up with, so he can hear
Yeah,
other
he
people's
eavesdrop
voices.
on
Yeah, essentially
to
the NSA.
geolocate.
Essentially
Yeah.
the NSA.
Exactly.
And so he's
Which is
driven
another-
to
which-
discover all these things so that he can combat the Joker. So I do think it is his movie.
Sure.
But I understand your
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
The
And
Joker
the
steals
NSA
every
thing is
scene.
a little bit. That's another thing that kind of bumps me a little bit
Okay.
too. Where I'm just like, that's a weird. Why are we turning this into this NSA privacy issues movie? It's a Batman movie, for God's sake. What are we doing here?
Yeah, but I also like it because Bruce Wayne has access to all these things. He could easily corrupt himself and take advantage of all of it.
Yeah.
And he made a choice within this. I will use it this once and then destroy the system thereafter because it's the only way I can figure out to stop this guy.
Yeah.
And to your point earlier, no one's ever seen it. The mob who is used to dealing with every erratic individual that tries to come into town is completely flabbergasted, and they get taken down like a house of cards. Like it wasn't even difficult for him
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
supersede them as the primary force within the city.
There's also something in Dark Knight, and this is like more a criticism of Christopher Nolan that I've noticed upon rewatching it, is that The Dark Knight is the movie that starts Christopher Nolan's trend of ending all of his movies with a musical montage. Think about it. Dark Knight Rises ends with we're going through these scenes and the music swells. Interstellar ends with all these scenes. He's hopping on the space station.
Yeah.
The music swells.
Okay.
We go to even I think Dunkirk even does the same thing. This is Dark Knight's the movie. Dark Knight ends the same way. It's like we're going through as we're watching him ride the bike
Ride the
up,
bike,
and
yeah.
we're seeing all the different people pass the laws and the
Yeah.
not the statue. The statue's the third one.
Right.
But that's a little that I love that stuff. But I was just like, oh, that was Dark Knight's the first time I noticed it upon the rewatch, and I was like, oh, Christopher Nolan's all about this montage and in the last scene.
I can
Dang.
accept
So-
this.
He's got a signature dunk.
Yeah.
And we, as general populace, went, I like that dunk. You know what I mean? I like that dunk. Go ahead and pull that again.
But again,
Vince Carter jump over a 7-footer in a game.
again, these are all like nitpicks because Dark Knight is fucking astounding.
Yeah.
It's the #1 movie from
no, it's not.
DC.
No, it's not.
Well, I do want to say one thing. You talk about best scenes. That scene in the interrogation scene, the entire interrogation
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
Everything that happens up until the cell phone in the dude's stomach, everything is so fantastic, and it's on par with any mobster crime drama movie ever, with what it does in that sequence and the limits it pushes and the swinging allegiance sides of allegiance that everyone has throughout the whole thing. Oh, I hate you, I hate you. Oh fuck, he's got these people that underlie, in the like. There's so many people switching sides. So this whole sequence, you're just like, oh, this is a fucking great movie to be able to do this.
Yeah.
In such a small amount of time. So, yeah, and Gary Oldman is fantastic. That's the best Jim Gordon I've seen ever on
Utterly believable.
on screen. This side of him in Dark Knight Returns, the animated version of the Joker, which I always love. All right. What's your number one, Jason Inman?
My number one is Batman Begins, the first movie of this trilogy.
Okay.
I forgot that we punted from
Yeah, it was my
Yes.
6.
Did. I think Batman Begins is superior to Dark Knight because it is Bruce's story.
You are insane.
It is Bruce's
All right.
story the entire way through. I also got to say that it deserves a little bit of Citizen Kane type credit for being the first cinematic Batman to actually be like the comic books Batman.
Uh-huh.
It was the first one that ever did it.
In what regard? Like what specifically?
Just in terms of that, we're getting to see a Batman that is as driven, using all of his skills, because like the Batman in the Tim Burton movies was pure superhero Batman. Just like, I got a car and I got this stuff. Whereas this is the Batman that like, I am suffering, I am doing this, I am pushing through.
There's a reason I became Batman.
There's a reason. There's a journey. Also, this is a fun little comic book nugget. The comic book origin of Batman had never been explored before Batman Begins. It's kind of like
What do you mean, like the fighting style aspect of
in terms of like where he got his training and stuff like that. It had been
that's what I meant.
It had been like talked about in little stories here and there, but no story had ever been like this is the whole way through. It kind of does. Superman and Batman both sort of have these Jesus periods where. And I talk about if you ever read the Bible, like Jesus, it's like some age, like he disappears at 11 and he doesn't show up until 33.
Yeah.
Batman does the same thing.
Wanders the desert.
Yeah, Superman does the same thing. And Batman Begins is the first time that they fill in. They're like, he went over here for 7 years. He became a criminal for a while. He did that.
Okay.
I also thought it was
Which is year one stuff.
It is year one stuff, but year one like touched on the first part of Batman.
Yes.
Then there's a lot of year one. Oh man, when the bats show up.
Yes.
In Batman Begins, I was like, this is one of those moments where I was like, I cannot believe this is in live action. This is insane. It has some goofy moments. The microwave water emitter is stupid.
Makes no sense.
It makes no goddamn sense.
It does, because you would vaporize every person you came across because we're 80% water, something like that. Yeah.
But I'm willing to get past it because it's the first time we get Ra's al Ghul on screen.
Yes.
Yeah, and Scarecrow was amazing.
Scarecrow is great.
Cillian
Arkham
Murphy.
Asylum is great and
Yep.
really looks through. And also, Batman Begins was so transformative. The Narrows never existed in the comics before, and now the Narrows are part of Gotham City in the comic books. They talk about the Narrows now.
Okay, it makes sense.
Gary Oldman, I would argue, is better in Batman Begins because that was where we get the introduction that he helped little Bruce.
Yes.
But I think the idea to start a Batman movie in a jail cell is such a weird and interesting story. And do you remember? I remember, in fact, this teaser trailer coming out, and it started with him walking over that snowy mountain.
Okay.
And I can remember everybody was like, "What the hell is this?" I remember that being the reaction. People being like, "What the f is this?"
Didn't the trailer have that? And it had him training with Liam Neeson on the ice.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was a bunch of different, like, I can't place why this would be in there.
Yeah,
it's true.
I also would make the argument, for me, I think the strongest piece of dialogue of all three of Nolan's Batman movies is the scene where they're on the glacier, and Bruce makes the remark. Liam Neeson says he says the piece of dialogue. He says, "Your father's death was not your fault," and then Bruce is like, "Well, he didn't have the training," and then Liam Neeson like just comes on him real quick and was like, "The training is nothing. The will is everything."
Yeah.
And the fact that they're actually filming on that glacier, I think, is beautiful and astounding. I just think of the three Nolan Batman movies, you see Bruce's arc in this movie more so than any of the other movies. It's strong from beginning to end. Where he is with the house, he lived in this house. He hates this house. He doesn't want anything to do with his house. He doesn't want anything to do with Gotham. And the idea of this movie is that by the very end, it's all taken away from him. Gotham is taken away from him. Gotham is made crazy.
Yeah.
His girl is sort of taken away from him. He sort of gets her back. His house is taken away from him.
Yep.
And then at the very end, he wants it all back.
Yeah.
He wants it all. He wants it brick. He says that line, I want it brick by brick. I want it all back. And I just think that it is similar to Man of Steel when Lois says, "Welcome to the planet." When he has that last scene with Gordon on the rooftop with the bat signal, I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great setup for the next one, too, just to hand the playing card.
Yeah, the Joker.
Yeah.
Just like a beautiful little, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it's a nice Victorian type of looking card.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It just beautifully
Which
sets
is
up
also
the character.
a scene from Batman Year One.
Yep.
That's how Batman Year One ends. It's that's that same exact scene. And I just think I have a little bit of a personal story with Batman Begins, which may be the reason why it knocks it up for me. So when this movie came out, I was in Iraq. I was deployed to Iraq when I was in the Army. And this was one of those movies. This movie and Star Wars Episode 3 were like, I was like, God damn it, I'm not going to be able to see these two movies. This pisses me off.
Yeah.
I'm such a movie fan. I luckily got to go on a mission to Kuwait City the weekend or a couple weekends after that it opened in Kuwait City. And I saw Batman Begins in a movie theater in Kuwait City. And it was a glorious night.
Was it subtitled?
No, because it was like sort of like an off section of one of the bases. So it was
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, it was.
It was like, wow, it's an even crazier experience.
Yeah, no, but it was amazing. And in fact, over there we had these movies called Haji versions Javi DVDs, based off the Johnny Quest character Haji.
Oh yeah.
I shouldn't say it, but that's what they were called. I mean no offense. And they would have like $1 ripped off movies. It'd be like somebody with a camcorder.
Oh yeah,
in
I remember
Paris is like filming the movie. I bought this immediately. And when I watched it, it cut out from where he first faces Scarecrow to like when he wakes up to the party. Like, so it cuts out a good 30 minutes of the movie. And to be honest with you, it still works. It still works. I watched that movie like so many. I was like, oh, this is so good. I don't care. But Batman Begins, I just think the journey of Bruce to Batman through that movie is more transcendent. And I just think in Dark Knight, to me, the lesson he learns is that, well, I got to be Batman. And for me, I'm like, well, I thought you already learned that lesson in the first movie. Right. In the first movie, we're seeing him going from Bruce to Batman, and in the second movie, he's like, well, I got to be Batman. And the personal journey, the journey is wider, and it seems longer in the first one.
But I think the second one, yes, I agree with you. They are rehashing the same thing. But I think in the second one, he understands what that means.
Sure.
In the first one, it's kind of an idea and a concept, and then now that concept is lived in, and he understands the long-term ramifications of what making that choice is and having to accept what comes with it.
And I will say that I think the second one, I will say cinematography-wise, is more beautiful. I think it's a way better shot movie. But in the other respect, I think Batman Begins has the better score because Dark Knight is only Hans Zimmer, and Batman Begins was Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard. If you listen to the soundtrack of the first Batman Begins, there's like a Bruce theme that carries through, and Hans Zimmer is the one that does the Batman theme, the dun dun dun, that like drum beat thing that he always does.
Yeah.
And in the second movie, we lose the Bruce theme completely. It's only the Batman theme, and I always felt that in terms of the score was really missing from that movie.
Wow.
Okay.
So
here's my complaints. Katie Holmes is terrible in the movie. She takes away so much from the movie.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to believe this romance. And I don't buy it for a second. When she slaps him in the car, I'm just like, ugh. It just, there's so much about it that I think undercuts the Bruce Wayne that I want to see. That when he finally gets to, when he's on the mountain and all that training, that's great. I love all of that. But all the stuff.
Oh, fair point. She's a weak point of that.
Yeah,
movie.
she is.
Totally.
And it bothers me because that's the romance, the connection tissue. We're supposed to see his humanity through her.
Sure.
Right. And the stuff with Liam Neeson, it's almost just like a tough love father. And I never felt that Ra's al Ghul was capable of being a legitimate villain in halftime because it's Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
And Liam Neeson sometimes can slide into caricatures. And when he's doing that on the train, he's doing it in his house when he's, destroying the house and everything. I'm like, but I enjoy the movie thoroughly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So I don't argue putting it at one.
The reason why I put it number one is because it's the one of the three that I'll rewatch the most.
Yeah, and that's fair.
It really is.
Absolutely fair.
I got to be in the mood for Dark Knight because I feel like Dark Knight is a hell of a journey, and it's like I feel like I got to commit 3 hours to it.
I can jump in at any point.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to watch the opening 20 minutes? Great.
Yeah.
I love that scene. Or you want to just watch this or the entire thing? I have neither problem with both. I can do both. I just think the first one is a comic book movie brought to the silver screen, and the second one is how can we transcend those limitations and make something that is more realistic and universal.
And you just proved my argument for why Batman Begins is the best DC comic movie. Ba-boom!
Exactly. And we said DC movie.
Yeah, we said
this transcended that to make something that won an Oscar. It won an Oscar. It was nominated for numerous.
It was. All right, well, that's all our lists separately. Now we're going to combine them into one overall list, which will be damn interesting, I think, for all the different ways we've gone with our choices of films. Are you writing down, right, Max? I'm banging this stuff?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So, obviously, the number one film is The Dark Knight because of
majority. 2 out of 3.
Yeah. But I think because Jason has it at 1, and where do you have Batman Begins?
6. But you guys both have Soups at 2.
We both have Soups at 2.
Okay.
And if you guys want to keep that off the list, I have no problem with that because I don't have it. So that's fine with me.
All right, Superman at 2. And then what do you have, Matt?
Well, we got to do Batman Begins next.
Okay, we do you want? Oh no, I.
You want to give it to him at 2?
Not at 3.
Batman Begins.
I feel like
that's his number 1.
Where do you have it?
My number 6.
It's my number.
Do you have it?
Oh, you have it on
You
your
don't
list?
have it, do you?
I don't
yeah,
have
You
it.
didn't have it.
Yeah, but
So-
I don't have Superman. You both have it at 2, and I'm willing to concede there. I'm willing to concede to give him that at 3.
Not Wonder Woman?
Because Wonder Woman is my number 4.
And that's my number 3, and it's your number 5.
It's my 5, yeah.
I feel like
So it should be number 4 then, of the 3 average. Because 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, but that's on all our lists,
Yeah.
whereas Batman Begins.
I'm not fighting.
isn't.
I'm not fighting for Batman Begins. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if you were going 5, 4, 3, then that means Wonder Woman's 4. Because if you're taking the average.
Yeah, but then that means also Superman then drops off because I don't have it on my
Oh,
list.
okay, sorry.
And yeah.
Yeah, keep quiet,
It's a
Jason.
slippery slope.
Keep quiet, Jason.
I appreciate your
rules
math.
make no sense.
I appreciate your math. Well, it's between those two in my mind for the
I would
next.
concede Wonder Woman.
You would?
I would give Wonder Woman.
So you
yeah.
want
3,
Wonder
and
Woman
then
at 3?
Batman Begins at 4?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would do it.
Matt, are you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Writing it down.
Okay, perfect. What do we have? What does everybody have next?
My number 3 was Mask of the Phantasm,
I don't have that till 8.
but then my number 5 was Man of Steel.
Well, I got Perdition at 2, and you have that on your list.
Road to Perdition was
Is it like
my
10?
was my number 10.
What do you have next?
I don't have it on my list at all. My next one is Man of Steel at 5 because we did Batman. Yeah, Man of Steel at 5, and you have Man of Steel.
I have
at
Man of Steel at 5,
and
as
you have
well.
it at 10.
Yeah, that should go there.
So Man of Steel
Okay.
should be 5.
Really? 2 Superman movies in the top 5? Really?
That is correct.
Really? All right, then give me Road to Perdition next.
At 6?
It's my 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
number
agree.
2.
I agree. I think Road
That's
to Perdition
fine.
should be number
That's
6.
fine.
I just had too many other superhero movies that that's the only reason I put Road to Perdition so low. So
All right. Where are we at number 7?
What do we have? We both have V for Vendetta.
Yes. Where do you have it at 3?
Yeah.
And
mine
you
is
have-
at 8.
I think it should go. Okay.
Yep.
I'm fine with it going there. I don't have it on my list, but I'm fine with it being
But
there.
you and I also had Lego Batman movie.
We do.
I had it at 7.
I have it at 8.
So
Do we have anything else in common higher?
Well, Superman 2 is what I had. You didn't have it on.
and
No.
Mask of Phantasm was the only one that we didn't.
Batman
Oh
Returns.
yeah, Mask
yeah.
of Phantasm.
Do you both have it on your list?
Yeah.
And we've got it. I think higher
Mine's number
collectively.
3.
Yeah.
So then Batman Mask of Phantasm should go there then.
All right.
And then I think this is where we separated. Because I have Lego Batman, and then I know you also had V for Vendetta.
How much time do
We already got V
How many slots do we have left?
2.
Did we do V already?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Lego Batman next, since you
Yes.
both have it.
What do you have, Matt?
After that, History of Violence, which no one has.
Nope.
Batman, Tim Burton, no one has, and then
Mhm.
Watchmen.
I have Watchmen.
Yeah, Watchmen, sure.
All right,
Watchmen at 10?
Watchmen it is.
Yeah.
All right. Boom.
So how did this full list run down? Let's hear it.
Well, we're gonna
We're
hear in
about to
just a
do
second.
that.
Oh,
We
great.
do a
Sorry, I'm
little-
jumping ahead.
Funny you say that, Jason.
We do a really pathetic bit of theatrics. This is the production value.
Yes. Are we ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, this is gonna hurt my body to get down this low. All right. The top 10 DC movies. Yeah. At number 10.
Watchmen,
At number 9.
Lego Batman,
At number 8.
Batman Mask of the Phantasm,
At number 7.
V for Vendetta,
At number 6.
Road to Perdition,
Starting out our top 5. At number 5.
Man of Steel,
At number 4.
Batman Begins,
At number 3.
Wonder Woman,
Doo-doo-doo. All right. At number 2.
the Donner classic Superman,
And the number 1 DC movie is
The Dark Knight.
Kaboom.
That's a good list.
That's a damn good
That's
list.
a damn good list. I think that's a good order
Yeah.
too, as well.
This was so much fun.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that every guest we bring on has these incredibly different rankings for these films. That
you guys are too similar.
It's on
you're-
certain
well,
lists,
not-
and on other lists were
Although
completely
you
different.
didn't put Superman the movie on
That's
there
what
at
I'm
all.
saying, yeah.
Crazy.
It's not
is
crazy.
You and I hit a couple of the same number.
Yeah,
Both the Superman the movie, and Man of Steel, we had the same number. That's
Yep.
crazy.
well, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of DC. That's the thing
No.
that struck me this time around. Like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to and to give a shout out to Bibiani, I went to Crave Online. He's ranked all the theatrically released DC movies, 32 of them, and I was surprised at how many films in there that I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
There's a
And-
lot.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. That's the reason why this list was so hard for me. Because
Yeah.
I felt it was 14 pretty decent
Yeah,
movies,
sure.
all fighting for the 10.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have 12.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I nixed all the Chris Reeves and like, nope, adios.
Yeah, there were certain ones where I was like, yeah, Suicide Squad, you're not on here.
Yeah.
Batman v Superman, you're not on
No.
here. Steel, you don't even bother.
Green
Yeah.
Lantern.
Yeah, Green Lantern, get the hell out of here.
Swamp
Suicide
Thing.
Squad.
No.
Yeah, Swamp Thing.
I loved it as a kid. As an adult, it's not good.
No, Supergirl.
Yeah, get out of here.
Quest for Peace.
Yeah.
The
Now,
third
but I
one.
mean, hopefully the trend of Wonder Woman continues.
Yeah.
And that 3 or 4 years down the road, this is a different
Yeah,
story.
I hope Justice League is amazing.
Yeah, I hope so
I
too.
really genuinely do.
I want it to be, but
I have no faith.
I have no. I know one person that has seen it. They told me it was fun. That's
Okay.
the only thing I know.
I know
So-
3 people who've seen it, and
So-
I've heard varying reports.
Interesting.
So
That's what I was anticipating.
yeah, so I'm nervous. The fact that we just came out yesterday, today on Mashable, that they are lifting the embargo at Wednesday night at 2:50 in the
Yep.
morning on
That's
ESPN.
not a good sign.
That is not a good sign. You know, and
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
Jason knows.
Yeah.
There's some people who are saying, like, I have a friend, Kalinowski. Kalinowski's like, oh, it's because they don't want to spoil any of the
Bullshit.
surprises in the movie. I go,
Look,
Bullshit.
that's a spin move.
Look, I work for DC. You can call me that I am their professional mouthpiece. But I
Sure.
also, my opinion is my own. I
Yeah.
love Mike Kalinowski to death. That is a ridiculous explanation.
It is. It is. Because you can only build hype or hurt a movie.
Yeah.
And that's it. So
Yeah.
if it's good, look at Thor. Came out before and everybody's like, so much fun.
Yep.
Yep.
I hope Marvel keeps making really fun movies like this. And that's exactly what it was.
And Kalinowski doesn't like Thor. He says, not my kind of movie.
I enjoyed Ragnarok.
I love Ragnarok.
Yeah, we can hit
love it, but I enjoyed it.
and I'll happily tell you, like the joke I was bringing up before, it was in the beginning of it. And I was like, the fact that you went 100% here, I don't
Yeah.
care what else you do.
Yeah.
I love that. I know you're going to be taking chances, and some of them aren't going to work.
Yeah.
Or you're going to go to the well too many times. That's fine. You're still taking chances.
But these 10 DC movies are
This is a
good,
solid
great
list.
movies
Yeah, it is.
to watch
And-
Yep.
and enjoy and get a taste of what why we love these characters so much.
Yeah.
And I really do push back. Like there's some people who are DC fans or DC trolls, they call them online and they get real upset. You say anything negative about DC. The only reason we say negative, I mean, at least those of us that are pure about loving superheroes, we say negative stuff because we want these films to be great. We
Yeah.
want these films to be great. We want to enjoy ourselves. That's why everybody loved Wonder Woman so much. We're like, oh, fuck, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
And it's something that comic book fans have been saying for 70 plus years.
Yep.
You're like, you can
Yeah.
make a Wonder Woman movie. Look,
Yes.
here's the proof.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
See?
You know?
And so
And people said the same thing about the Avengers movie as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
You know?
I'm with you, Jason. I hope the trend continues up.
Yeah.
I hope I enjoy Justice League to pieces. I want to enjoy it. I want them to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
The Aquaman movie, they showed about a minute of it at Hall H.
I'm excited for
and
that movie.
I was like blown away by how much I'm looking forward to that. Patrick Wilson coming back to play
Ocean Master.
Ocean Master.
Yep.
And then you have the Flashpoint stuff they're figuring out. I hope that works. That's a hell of a tight wire they're walking with Flashpoint. Why would you start with him fucking with timelines? It doesn't make any sense. Establish him first.
That's the
then.
problem. DC tends to do that where they overreach from the beginning.
Sure.
And it's just like, well, shit, you should have told a smaller story. Something like Deadpool, where the audience, you need to educate the audience to who this character is. So let's just tell a much smaller movie and still allow the character to do everything it's accustomed to doing and then eventually expand upon that.
Well, I think that's my fear, Matt, is that we may have to accept that this is how DC is going to do. Because I think Shazam's going to be as good as Wonder Woman. I think Shazam's going to be fucking great.
Yeah, that is.
yet-
If you look
yeah.
at our list here, even the thing that is very interesting about the DC movies is that Warner Brothers will give this character to a director, and most of the time they'll just wipe their hands.
Yeah.
They'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"You make whatever
do.
you make, and
Yeah.
whatever you come up with is whatever you come with." And the interesting thing about the DC movies I find is that they tend to be more distinct
True.
than the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely
Because
fair.
Marvel
Sometimes
has
to
a
strength
blueprint.
or a weakness.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's true. They are like, love them or hate them, you have a reason
Yep.
for it each and every time
They
through the
swing for
decisions
the
they
fences.
make. They do.
You're
right. Yeah.
They do. The problem is they're like Aaron Judge when he was in that hitting slump.
Yeah.
God.
You're connecting every once again, but you are striking out a lot.
Yeah.
We see your potential.
And sometimes the bat's gonna fly out of your hand
Yeah.
and hit somebody in the
Exactly.
crowd. It's gonna happen.
Well, when you bought that ticket, there's a waiver on the back.
That's right.
Unfortunately,
It's gonna happen.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I admire. Like at least they're swinging. They're
Exactly.
I mean,
You
know,
applaud them for the effort.
And
Yes.
I don't mean, and by no means respect, because I love a lot of Marvel movies. I think Iron Man 1 is one of my favorite
Yep.
superhero movies of all time. If this is like all superhero films, like Iron Man 1 would be like easily in my top 3. I just
Wow.
love that movie. I think it's so much energy.
It is.
But I feel like sometimes Marvel bunts. and they just keep bunting.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they hit for that third base, you know.
That's fair.
But I feel like DC's the Babe Ruth over there in the corner. Like he is swinging as hard as he can, and sometimes he's gonna hit it, and a lot of times he's gonna strike out.
The problem is they're calling every shot, and Babe didn't do that.
Yeah.
Babe, picked and chose. It's that one time I'm calling my shot, whereas DC is like,
nope,
right field,
Right.
every time. You're like, it can't be every time, guys.
Yeah.
It can't be every time.
Yeah. But that's what makes it interesting is that
It does.
they both have
It's a good point.
different ways
That's
of
a
approaching.
very good point,
Yeah.
Jason. Yeah, but that's why the fans get. It's just like if you put a sports analogy, it's like we paying this guy $27 million, and then he comes through that one time. You're like, God, why can't you do that all the time?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
But you get in there because he has all that potential, and you see every once in a while he can really do it. So-
Marvel's the team that's got the fundamentals down. Like
Yeah.
they are rock solid with like layups and like free throws and all stuff like that.
Yeah.
And DC is the guy that's trying to make the Harlem Globetrotters is trying to make the shot from half court. And sometimes they sink it.
I would make a tennis reference. Marvel is Pete Sampras, just consistently doing what his thing. Vanilla,
Okay.
well, not Vanilla, but like does his thing. And then and Agassi is DC. Like every once in a while he pops up, but then he goes down to 300, and then he shoots back up and wins a major.
Or
and falls
Federer
down.
and Nadal. It's the
Yeah,
same
Federer
thing.
and Nadal. Yeah. I agree. Oh, that's good. Federer and Nadal works better. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening to our top 10 DC movies. Jason Inman, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show, man.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm glad that I've finally made it into the top 10 Hall of Fame with you guys. I'm gonna start that right now. I'm gonna start that right now.
You know what? I appreciate the balls of that. 'Cause that's some
DC fan.
That's some horse shit that I would say. I was great, right? You know what? This is one time DC over there. You called your shot.
Yeah.
You called your shot. And you hit it.
You
man.
hit it,
My
man.
friend.
When you make that top 10
You hit it.
of top 10 episodes, I expect this to be number one.
I've never heard anybody call their spot on Rushmore. Okay, whose spot do you want?
Ooh, I'm a Teddy Roosevelt man, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be
right.
I'm not gonna go all the way to the
Look,
top.
guess who just made my Mount Rushmore right there?
That's right.
You didn't try to take the Lincoln or the Washington.
Yeah.
You're like,
Nope.
no, I'll take the guy that made the monument. You know what I mean? That's how he
right.
snuck his face on.
Teddy
Yeah, that
Roosevelt.
says bully a lot.
Yeah, sure.
I think Teddy Roosevelt is the official president of the top 10 show, isn't he? The number one?
On your side.
On my side.
I know
yeah.
you're a big
I'm
Teddy,
massive
Teddy
Teddy.
Roosevelt
I'm a big
fan.
Teddy fan.
Yeah.
I like him.
Have you
too.
read all the Edmund Morris books?
Yep.
Yeah, those are
Mhm.
just
Yep.
fantastic.
I am weird off subject. I am dying for a modern Teddy Roosevelt
Yes.
biopic.
Yes.
And I want it to star Nick Offerman.
Ooh.
Yep. I'm going a little crazy with that casting
Wow, that
choice.
is crazy.
But we need a Teddy movie right now. We
But
need
where
a
are
Teddy
you setting
biopic.
it? Because Teddy goes through a lot.
And plus, I
when he's
think you need
younger.
to end it after his sons die in war because then it humanizes him and it discolors his rose-colored view of
Yeah.
war.
I think you got. I don't know. I think maybe you start when he becomes Secretary of the Navy, and from there. Like I don't know. Or do you think the New York
No,
stuff is
the
pretty
New York
important?
stuff's really
Okay.
important because him losing his wife and his mom on the same night, it causes a severe depression in him that he disappears into the wild for 2 years.
Yeah.
That is important because
Okay.
you start from the beginning with him because he was a sickly child. His father encouraged him to work out and lift weights and told him, if you don't do this, you die.
Yeah.
So you have to step up to the plate. So that is a fundamental thing with him is that whenever he's faced with tragedy, he's always found a way to come back and overcome it all the way up until the end. And unfortunately, that third run for the presidency embarrassed him, and he never really recovered from that emotionally. But he had done so much of
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
to live up to that
however,
point.
his whole life is fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I
Phenomenal.
picked Teddy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the Teddy spot in the top 10. Mount Rushmore.
I'll go with that.
I'm on
yeah,
it. make
Lincoln.
that
Lincoln is my first choice. I find
of
him
course.
eminently fascinating.
Yes. well, we've
But it was a
diverged
pleasure.
again.
It was a pleasure coming on
Yeah.
here, and thank you so much for the honor of getting in the top 10
Yeah, definitely. You're welcome,
as the first.
Hey, where can people find you, man?
You can find me all over the internet on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Jawin. That's the
Okay.
theme of the evening, at Jawin, Jawin. And don't forget the Jawin Comic Drive for Soldiers. The details on my YouTube. And please, if you got some old comic books, send them along.
Absolutely. And go subscribe to Jason's YouTube channel because Jason does some incredible breakdowns of shows.
Oh, thanks, man.
And you really do. And with Ashley as well, you all do a great job with all the stuff you do there. And I enjoy watching your show. I don't always watch, but I'll put on the audio as I'm driving sometimes because I got to download this shit. And
Yep.
so it's so much going on that we talk about here at Collider. It's like anybody who's a professional and is expert on certain things, I'm like, I want to listen to it because I got to get it all in my head. And
I appreciate
so
that,
you
man.
do great
Yeah.
work, man. No,
Yeah, we
honestly.
go deep cut on the air.
You really do,
Yeah.
man. It's
I'm like,
phenomenal.
back in 275 when he did this. Yeah, his beard wasn't combed that way.
That's
All
right. That's right. Matt, what do we want to say?
For basically just go over to our Facebook group page, which is facebook.com/groups/the top 10 show with the number 10. Everything that's going on with Patreon, with Thunderdome, with potential ideas we have rolling out. There's people are posting all kinds of different breakdowns and crazy stuff that they make for the show and whatnot. It all gets posted over there. Or you can follow us on Twitter at Matt Nost, MATTK and Osteen, and you can find everything that I'm doing there.
Yeah, and you can find me at The Rocha Says, ROCHA on Twitter and Instagram as well. And yeah, like Matt said, the Facebook page, definitely, and donate at www.patreon.com/the top 10. There's a lot of tiers there. I know some people have been like, well, I want to donate more. I go, whatever you can give, we're always very appreciative, and it's why we created those multiple tiers. And don't feel because you're going to only give $1 a month, it's somehow less valued. We appreciate it. Even those who can't donate, you can barely pay your bills. We understand and respect that completely. But if you can donate, we appreciate it, of course.
The almost six-figure, unique listeners we get every month.
Yeah.
If everybody donated $1, then guess what? Guess who just got a full-time job at,
That's right, top 10.
Exactly.
I got to build that.
We're going to create a show called Mount Rushmore. And you can host that.
Yeah, we've been building our top 10 network.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's 10 shows, so we got a lot of content to fill.
We need
Tell your wife if she's got any ideas she wants to pitch. We are open.
She'll be the 5th.
Perfect.
There's a 5th on Rushmore. I haven't even met her. I like this.
The top 10 Mount Rushmore.
That's true. It's two-sided with the back.
She's coming with me.
Yeah, not a problem. But yeah, whatever you're willing to. And some of those individuals out there that said, I wish I could, but I'm a broke college student, or whatever the case is. Thank you anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you anyway.
Thanks
the
for
sentiment
listening.
alone. Yeah. And just let us know on Twitter you're enjoying the show. That's it.
Absolutely. And if you can't donate, tell people about the show. Look, always spread the love of the show. We always want to get more and more listeners. And you could tell, listening to this episode, we have a good time on the show. People listening to us will have a good time on the show. And you know what? All the craziness of the world, come and enjoy us for an hour or 2 hours as we talk about films, and you will have a good time.
Yeah, that is it.
Ooh.